Good evening, race fans. Welcome to another Wednesday night Freaky Fast broadcasting. This again is the Wicked Racing League Buttkicker Cup Series. Tonight we have a showdown in the desert. We are at Phoenix Speedway for the next level karting 175, and it is 175 laps around this kind of odd-shaped 1 mile course. It is Carl Pooler up in the booth with Zach Hall, and as always, Robert Moyer Jr. on our production stand. Zach, we saw a very event-filled Martinsville race last week, and this is another race to start off this round of 8. Can we expect similar things to what we saw last week?
Yeah, I tell you, last week was definitely a tough one for a few drivers out there. We had plenty of cautions to go around. And here tonight at Phoenix, this track is a tough one also, man. This 1 mile oval here in the desert is just very, very slick and very low grip when it comes to these tires, and especially as the tires start to wear. I think that's going to be a factor we see throughout the night, is a lot of these guys are going to be slipping and sliding about 10 to 15 laps into the run, where at that point, you're just pretty much holding on.
And I've been talking with the drivers all week long. They've been hosting practices. Believe it or not, you mentioned the sliding. It is just killer on the rear tires. Usually you see a little bit of pushing in that right front, but right now the drivers have all been complaining about rear tire wear. We have 3 stages as usual tonight. It'll be at lap 50, lap 100, and then we'll finish out with the 75 lap stint. And you mentioned it, Zach. 10, 15 laps, these drivers are already complaining how slick these tires are. They can probably go 50 laps, but will they want to? Will they have the fortitude? Will they have the endurance to hang on to that car for 50 laps during those stages?
Going to be a huge question for sure, and if you can qualify well here as we're entering this qualifying session now, as you see drivers out on track taking times, it'll be good to get yourself farther up that grid. That will really help your chances of trying to maybe manage those tires at the start instead of having to gain that track position, as some of these drivers who start farther back will really have to start to use some of that rubber up. But like you brought up, Carl, this is the first race of the round of 8 here. We got Gavin Rogers coming in tonight with that lead, 15 points back to that cut line for him. And then you'll have Alex Coffey, Johnny Shade, Mason Hossman, Nigel Christensen, Adam Buzzio, Blaine Wilson, and Jamie Plord. So a great group of 8 there, as we're going to look to cut it down to 4.
And here we are cutting it down. We have Bristol next week to determine who will get into that championship race. But we still have to get through tonight. And we see it here. They reconfigured the track. They have that open dog leg. You can cut down as far as you want, but we all know as we watch Richard Wolsifer go down that dog leg, it is very a kind of risk versus reward. It is the shortest way around the track, but it is very slick down there, very flat, and the transition between that apron and the track can really upset that car, making the car extremely loose, borderline spinning out. I know I've done it here, unfortunately, Zach, so these drivers are going to have their hands full tonight.
Yeah, that transition is very dangerous, especially with the way these cars are built now. This next Gen 7 Cup Series car has a rear diffuser under it, folks. And what that means is that diffuser down there is the floor of the car, where it makes majority of the downforce with the air flowing underneath it. It's sucking that diffuser down to the track. When that diffuser bottoms out over those transitions, it will cause that diffuser all the air traveling under it to dissipate, and you lose every bit of grip in that rear end, and you're going to see a few of these guys who maybe hit that transition just wrong, bottom out, and then they're going to have a tough time trying to hold on to their machines. So I think it's a frequent thing we should see tonight, especially with the dog leg and cutting that dog leg being such a useful technique to try to set up passes, but it can be very, very dangerous. So drivers are going to have to stay on top of that. But as most of these times continue to click through here, Carl, looks like Gavin Rogers there, our points here coming in tonight, he's up front on the pole position so far.
And Gavin Rogers up at the front is a pretty standard sight here at the Wicked Racing League. But Zach, going back to that dog leg, not only do you have to worry about the car handling, making sure it stays on there, but you have your competitors. If you're all the way down on that dog leg, all of these competitors can get to the outside of you. We have seen it to where drivers will go 5 wide through that front straightaway using the entirety of the track, and everything funnels down into that turn 1. So not only are you going to have to deal with the car, the track, but everyone else around you is going to be kind of a a mixture of chaos as we watch the 13, I think that is, of Ryan Harrison. He's going down that backstretch, and that's another complication to this track. As wide as the front stretch is, the backstretch is very narrow, very constricted, with walls on both sides, and we've seen parking lots develop here in previous races.
That they really have, and coming especially off of turn number 2 here, it's one of the toughest places to get off the corner. It's so flat there through 1 and 2 here as they reconfigured this racetrack to make it 1-2 as it previously was 3 and 4. And coming out of that corner, it's very, very flat, very treacherous trying to get the power down. And like you said, Carl, there's not a lot of room on that back straightaway. That inside wall and that outside wall is only a couple lanes split into 2.
And as we are talking, qualifying is wrapped up. We will talk through the starting lineup, talking about at least the starting 2 lanes of the grid. And of course, Gavin Rogers is topping this qualifying session, followed by Alex Coffey. The 18 of Blaine Wilson is sitting there. And so the 1, 2, 3 are all playoff contenders. Christopher Norris is sitting there in 4th position. Adam Buzzio in 5th. Alexander Light, a newcomer, is sitting in 6th position. Dallas Mann is sitting there in 7th. Mason Hausman in 8th. Jamie Ford in 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is Gregory Shaw.
In the 11th position is Richard Wolfitzer. 12th is going to go to Johnny Shea. 13th is going to be Giovanni Perez D'Amco. 14th is going to be the 9 of Chad Bean. 15th place is going to be Ryan Harrison. 16th is going to be TJ Roberts. 17th is going to be the 42 of Sam Dyer. 18th is going to go to Nigel Christensen. 19th is going to be Jimmy Kiminek as he rounds out the field with Revenger Race Control in that 20th spot.
And this is going to be a very interesting race. Last week was extremely event-filled. A lot of cautions, 21 cautions to be exact. And some of these drivers don't necessarily have the shortest of memories, especially some of the playoff drivers. They needed a good run last week, and they just got caught up. But, you know, everyone is racing for that race win. We understand there is a playoff format, but everyone is entitled to go for that win. And that's just what makes this playoff format so interesting and so fun to watch as these races click off. In fact, Zach, we have 3 races until the end of the season. We have this one, Bristol next week, and then the season finale. So it is going to be very pressure-filled for all of these playoff drivers.
That it really will be, man. I tell you, this schedule here at the end of the season is very, very tough. You know, we've had Atlanta, the new configuration Atlanta also, which is much more similar in style to the Super Speedway style racing. Then you had the Martinsville Speedway, 2 just tough racetracks. Then you come to this round for Phoenix and Bristol, 2 of the toughest tracks on the schedule. I mean, so you got 4 back-to-back races that are very, very tough, but then they end it all there at Charlotte, which is going to be a surefire great race there, as Charlotte Motor Speedway always puts on a great show. But definitely the lead up to that Charlotte Motor Speedway finale, it has been a very tricky road for these drivers to manage.
What's been one of the most difficult playoff, set of playoff races and tracks that I've seen in any kind of really iRacing league. I am kind of new, but it's really, really difficult for all of these drivers. So many different types of track, different configurations, and then you just add it on top of all the pressure of the playoffs. It's going to be very, very interesting to watch. And of course, another oddity of this track, the pace cars pulled off to pit lane out of turn 2. The drivers have to maintain speed all the way down this back straightaway, which makes it very, very difficult just to kind of keep yourself under control. And then the restart zone is very, very early, kind of in turn 3, in the middle of 3 and 4. And as these drivers are gridded up side by side, the green flag is out, and we are green flag racing here at Phoenix Raceway.
Just like that, like you said, the green flag is out, and already drivers all dropping low here, trying to get as much speed heading down to that flat turn 1 and 2. But it's Gavin Rogers holding on as that field back there looks to get settled out. It's Adam Buzzio in that 5th position, trying to fight off the 05 on the outside of Alexander Light.
In the first about 4 or 5 cars, a single file out that's double wide behind him. All of these drivers trying to jockey for that track position that you hinted at earlier, Zach. And right now we see him go way down on the dogleg as we watch Blaine Wilson go through the pit lane exits to get down into turn 1. We see the 83, Christopher Norris, taking a power move around the outside of our playoff driver, trying to make a move for 3rd position.
Yeah, and behind all of this, there we had our first incident. Giovanni Perez Diemco, he spins around from that 14th position, and he's just getting back going now in the middle of 1 and 2. So the 11 machine having a tough start there, and it was all in the dog leg. I've seen drivers losing it here, coming out of the corner. Look at that close action there as they come back up onto the racing surface. That almost got real close there as the 05 looks to make the move.
And 05, Alex Light, I mentioned a newcomer. He's kind of late to the party here, but he definitely loves and heard about the Wicked Racing. Oh, and that looks like the 56 of Richard Wilson for getting loose out of turn 2, but he might have been able to gather it back up and continue on racing. And that 05 and the 51 side by side there. Oh, there's another spin across the start-finish line going into the dogleg, and that is going to bring out our first caution of the night here on lap 4.
And that was playoff contender Johnny Shade in the 24 machine. He was able to get that win at the Atlanta Motor Speedway just now, starting these playoffs. That's a tough way to start it there, spinning coming out of that turn 3 and 4. And I think that's going to be a similar sight we see a lot here tonight. These cars, very, very unstable, and you have to keep full control of it or it'll try to get away from you.
Well, not only that, these drivers I've noticed, Zach, have also been shifting, trying to get the power down, help the car turn. But with it being so slick and using that dog leg, there's no banking on the dog leg, Zach. So does that amplify the wear on the tire as you're trying to get through that front straightaway?
It really does. That dog leg actually does cause a significant bit of wear actually on that tires when you go down there and explore those seams, and even the shifting that you brought up, that can be a little bit dangerous. We have 5 gears here in this next gen car. You can utilize really any gear from 5th to 3rd here at Phoenix, but in my opinion, I think 4th is the optimal gear all the way around this racetrack, so you don't have to shift up and down entering the corners that can really unstable that car. So maybe drivers, as the day goes on, they'll figure out what gear they want to be optimized in, but you'll see all different types of things. Some guys going from 5th down to 4th and then back up to 5th, where some guys will go from 4th actually all the way down to 3rd gear. It's kind of surprising to say that, but there will be people going all the way to 3rd.
And that was a good break for the 11, Perez D'Amico. He was already a lap down, but with this, he should get the free pass. Had a really rough outing last week at Martinsville. Finished 31 laps down. Just could not get anything going in that run. So he is definitely looking to turn it around tonight and keep up with some of these playoff drivers as they make their way around this mild circuit for 175 laps, and getting a mistake out of the way early. Looks like he's going to pit and try and maybe refresh those tires that he might have flat spotted during that spin.
Yeah, those tires could definitely be hurt by that type of spin there, but you don't want to definitely be wasting a set. I think the biggest thing for Shade and any drivers, they're going to be looking to maybe get any little bit of damage. I know that the 11 just barely caught the walls. He's on pit road this time, but the 24, he caught it pretty good on the inside there. But it seems like he's elected to stay out. And from looking at the nose, with how big a hit it was on the inside wall, we've seen how resilient these cars are. He has barely any damage on this 24.
And speaking of back to the tires, Zach, they have 5 total sets. So they have 4 extra sets in pit road using your first set before lap 10. That is definitely going to put you in the corner in terms of strategy. These drivers can go all 50 laps on tires and fuel, so it should be pretty easy moves, at least getting to the stage ends. That 3rd stage, though, that is where the strategy is going to really come into play, and see when and if green flag stops are going to be in play, because also the pit road speed here is super low as well. So trying to make that get that car to roll up just a little bit and make that speed is also going to be really tricky on these drivers later on in this race.
That it will be. I tell you, it will definitely be an interesting sight here if we get to that point of the race later in this evening. If it does hit that 3rd stage, and we can see maybe green flag pit stops happen, but they should be good, like you said, here to get to all these first 2 stages under power here from having not the pit. And I don't think you want to waste those sets of tires either. If we see guys go 25, 30 laps and we get another caution, they might elect to come down and use another set of tires. But without having a total of 5 sets of tires here tonight, you only have 4 left in pit road. You want to be able to have as many as possible for that last stage when things could get a little wild.
And speaking of wild, the pace car is gonna dip onto pit lane one more time, and we are about to go racing again. here in Phoenix, Arizona, and you just love the scenery around here. I think that is Rattlesnake Hill up there. I've always wanted to get up there and trying to watch one of these races. Right now, we are here in the booth being able to watch these guys go around this track at 150, 160 miles an hour. But right now, Gavin Rogers in control of the field in the restart zone. Green flag is out, and we are racing again.
And we'll see how this restart goes already. Gavin Rogers able to jump out to a nice little gap there with Coffee, but it's going to be 3 wide back behind that group, as it was Hossman, Shaw, and the Light. The Light decided in the 05 machine to back out of that there this early in the go, and that was the right call.
Yeah, it was definitely the right call. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself. Again, these drivers have been mentioning how loose the car gets, how quickly those rear tires fall off, and that is definitely in the back of these drivers' minds as they keep going around this track more and more each and every lap, as we see the 78 on the inside of the 21 here for that 4th position, it looks like. But the 78 giving the bumper to the 83 of Christopher Norris up there in that 3rd position. So here we are already getting a little pushing and a little bit of shoving here at Phoenix Raceway. And again, the caution comes out. Looks like the 9 is in. Chad Bean is spun around in turn 3 and can't get it going again. So again, caution here on lap 11.
Oh, and that was a heavy hit for the 9 machine. Just broke loose under braking for him, getting down into the turn number 3, and it was a head-on collision, breaking both the left and right front toe link on that car. So he actually had to take a full tow back to pit road. We'll have to get service done on that race car to get it all fixed up, and he'll be looking to use that fast repair, and the one that they do have here at the Wicked Racing League.
And here, only 10 laps into the race, 11 laps in, you do not want to have to use that fast repair so early, because there's so much racing left to go tonight that you never know when you're going to need that fast repair. And on top of that, he is going to have to take that 2.5 minute tow. So that is definitely going to put him down a couple of laps. With a couple of stages, he has the possibility of getting those laps back. But from here on out, he has an uphill battle.
Yeah, that he really does. That's going to be a long climb for sure, but if they do get a good bit of cautions here, that will allow some drivers to get laps back. As you see there, that's the lucky dog. That's Giovanni Perez Diemco. He was just went that lap down. Now he'll be getting back on the lead lap in the 18th position. That leaves only Chad Bean now as the only driver 1 lap down. So if Chad can get out there and we get a few more cautions, he can get a few of these laps back. It's just going to be, does he have, how many laps will he lose here while his car is getting towed back to pit lane before they can get that quick repair on?
Well, actually, Zach, we have the 3 of TJ Roberts, who's also a lap down. And now that I'm looking at it, the 3 and the 9 were actually really close together, and the 3 had to get some damage repaired as well. So that would be the reason why TJ Roberts is down a lap. So this is going to be interesting. Already some cars a lap down, and they're going to be fighting for that free pass spot. But with Chad Bean already 2 laps down, that will automatically go to TJ Roberts if he stays only that 1 lap down. But we'll have to see how it goes, because yeah, just like I said, the 3 spun out on that dogleg trying to make some speed. And Zach, just another one of those things where it makes it really difficult, and it's such a slick track. All these drivers are really sensitive and really tender on the throttle.
Yeah, you really have to be, and also that transition we talked about all night. It's so tough because when it goes, it goes. Pretty much is what the drivers are saying. It is so tough to feel it before it happens and almost predict it. So you have to kind of go into every scenario here tonight, thinking that maybe at some point the car is going to break loose, because different than the Gen 6 and the previous generations of these Cup Series cars we've had. They've had a lot of side force in the past, and when you got sideways, it usually helped actually bring that car back in line. These cars are very, very symmetrical. There's even side force pretty much on both sides of the car. So when you get sideways, it doesn't really help too much to help bring that car back around. It really just wants to spin out on you. So these drivers are going to have a tough time all night managing this. But the driver that can manage it the best, the one that can keep those rear tires in the most pristine condition, will be the driver that locates themselves up front. So it's going to be fun to watch who can manage it the most. But as they see, the pace car is going to pull in, and we're going to get ready for another restart here. Can Rogers continue his trend of being able to get a great start?
We are on lap 14, going to green on lap 15. 50 laps to the stage, or is the stage end, so we still have 35 laps to go. But these drivers threw 3 into the restart zone again. Gavin Rogers in front, not letting the 7 of Alex Coffey get into where he wants to be. And there he goes again. A great launch by the 17, maybe a little bit of a push from the 83. But with that, the 17 launches like a rocket into turn 1. Everyone else behind him, side by side.
Oh yeah, that 17 has really been able to get a great start, and now even Coffey here might lose the position to the 83 there of Christopher Norris, but fights back on that outside line as the 83 continues to look down to the inside. Coffey really drove it into that corner, but they may make contact almost. There's this close racing coming out of 4, and now Hausman in the 78. He's looking to maybe position himself here to make a move.
And we've noticed how these cars do not go very well when they are side by side. It's the best way, the best chance to catch up is when you're single file. But ooh, the 78 getting into the outside wall, down the back straightaway, trying to go to the outside of the 83. And the 7 of Alex Coffey trying to make a move on the 17, catching up like no one's business. And the 7's going to stay low, take the dog leg super low to the pit wall through pit lane. And here we are, almost the battle for the lead into turn 1.
Yeah, Alex Coffey here really trying to go out there, get the clean air. He's seen that we've had a few caution quick ones here already. He does not want to be held back in the second position continually like this. So I think he's trying to go out there and take that position. And also Hausman in the 83 or in the 78 machine making good progress there as he's gotten past this 83. Christopher Norris now moved himself up into the 3rd position.
And I'm extremely impressed with Hausman in the second half of this season. The first half, he was really just trying to get his feet under him, get comfortable with racing with everyone around him. Then his win at Watkins Glen, it's like something clicked behind that wheel, and ever since, Hausman has been a regular contender here for the Wicked Racing Series. And you can see that yellow banner on all these cars. These are all playoff drivers right now, making a move to try and punch their ticket into the championship race at Charlotte in a couple of weeks. But right now they are fighting side by side for this race win is the 7 and the 17.
Yeah, can that 7 make the pass as the 17s look very, very stout on that top groove, having a little bit better drive off. But Coffey continuing to put that pressure on will be his way to try to set something up here, maybe make that move here as we get closer and closer to that lap 50 for stage number 1. And we know points can be critical. I mean, yeah, a win to move yourself on to the next round would be a nice way to do it, but any point could make the difference in moving on to try to be able to fight for a championship at Charlotte.
And we mentioned it, especially towards the end of the regular season, Gavin Rogers had a couple of rough outings and lost a significant point gap later on in the season. And with these playoffs, he's definitely not been too comfortable, say, with a large gap since then, and he knows that those points matter. With that pass on the dog leg there, Alex Coffey takes the lead. But don't look now, the 78 of Mason Hausman is definitely looking to also take that second place away from the 17. So Gavin Rogers, he may be saving a little bit here early as we ride on board with the 78, seeing the 17, see that yellow spoiler, seeing that playoff driver in front of him. There it is, the 78 going to dip low, hit the dog leg, and he's going to be side by side, maybe trying to make the pass into turn 1.
Yeah, Rogers, our pole setter, he's shown a lot of speed at almost every single track this season with 5 wins coming in here tonight. He is looking to, make up for a pretty tough start to the playoffs here. He needs this round to start over and get working for him, but also makes the pass on him. And not too surprised, I think Gavin here playing a little bit of the tire strategy. I'm telling you, as this run goes on, you're going to see more and more of these drivers slip and slide. If you go out there and just really attack on this racetrack, your tires are going to be in a terrible state here in about 10 to 15 laps.
And this could also be a strategy play depending on if the next caution comes out. You mentioned it, 25, 30 laps. That's when you kind of open up the pit window for tires. And if he wants to save, he is possibly saving, he could be opening up the book to stay out with everyone takes those tires. But only time will tell. We see the 05 of Alexander Light. He is definitely doing well around this track in a top 10. In fact, in 8th position right now, right behind another playoff contender of Blaine Wilson. And behind him, the 38 of Jamie Plord. So it's like a playoff sandwich right there. And he's just trying to stay out of the way, get some laps, and make sure he at least finishes this race.
Yeah, definitely. You got to finish the race first to get that finish you deserve. So we'll see how it works out for Light here. As he did fall back 2 spots from where he started, but again, I like when drivers fall back at the beginning of these runs. It usually equates to them going forward as the run goes on. So I think some of these drivers who are playing it a little bit more cautious, playing a little bit more safe, they will be the drivers to watch out for as this run continues on. And tell you what, having a great one at that right now.
And not only for this run to the first stage, but I think a lot of these drivers are trying to fill in their notebook, learning things about the car, learning things about the track and the tire, how they wear, getting ready for that third stage, that long 75 lap run to finish the race. I believe a lot of these drivers are trying to figure out what they want to do, how their car is going to feel. It's mostly cloudy here at Phoenix, and in fact, since practice, temperature has gone down. So it seems these drivers may get a little bit of luck and have that increased grip as the race goes along, but only time will tell, as right now everyone is single file on lap 27. So we still have about 24 laps to go in this stage, and oh, see how harsh that is on the car. You see how much that car is bumping and banging going through that dogleg. Just shows how violent that transition can be.
That it really can be, man. It's just very, very violent when you go across that apron, and these drivers holding on to these machines very well here as this run continues on with how that is right ahead of Alexander Light. You got that 18 of Blaine Wilson looking to make a move as he's a playoff driver trying to make the move on Gregory Shaw, who had a great run at Martinsville last week, who's trying to continue that momentum I believe he built up there.
And on the opposite side of the coin, you mentioned Alexander Light kind of falling back a little bit. Greg Shaw actually started 10th, up in 6th at the moment. So he's put on the burners a little bit and trying to move himself forward. But he is under attack by that 18. That 18 has a little bit faster entry into the corner, but he can't quite continue that momentum through the corner to make the pass. And after that failed pass through 3 and 4, he actually lost quite a bit of time, but he gains it into the corner. It just goes to show, Zach, how many different lines, how many different approaches a driver can take to this track.
Yeah, I tell you, that 18 looks to definitely be getting the most out of the entry. He's going to look again to the inside here as he got a good run off of that turn 2 now, but I'll be able to get to the inside as he got there on the 51, and it's going to be a good battle here across the line as Shaw's going to be able to keep it right on the door as they stay up through the dog leg and now heading down towards 1 and 2 as I think Wilson will have the preferred groove here, but you can fight back on the outside very well here, but Gregory going to let him go by and look to maybe make that move later. Ooh, a little wiggle from the 18 that almost opened the door again for the 51.
And we are going to be seeing this all day long. Who can maintain, who can manage the tires as we have the 18, the 51, the 05, and the 38 all together. It looks like these two teammates, oh, the 51 is going to take a spin through the dogleg. Oh, he tries to cover, comes back on the track, hitting the outside wall. That is going to bring out our third caution of the night on lap 31.
Oh, that was a very, very violent hit there, and I tell you what, that's the dogleg, man. You go down on that transition just in the wrong spot, it bottomed out across there, and from there he was just holding on for that machine and head first in the wall. Luckily, everybody behind him who was too wide somehow makes it by.
And Zach, is there a good spot to try and take that dogleg? Is there just a spot where you don't want to hit the angle, or is it just the speed, how you approach that dogleg that really causes that upset condition?
It is mostly due to just that placement of the car where it's at. I mean, it happens very suddenly. Ooh, has some split decisions there on pit road. It looks like Halsman going to be one of the only drivers. It looks like Gregory Schulte after his moment he had to come down, but only 2 drivers hitting pit road. But yeah, it's really the placement on the track. I think if you go too early, there's a little bit of an area where you can bottom out, and then also a little too late. In my opinion, that was just a little bit too late to go on the dog leg. It was right before the dog leg starts to bend, and right there is a very giant transition right there from that dog leg where it's a little bit banked from that apron dog leg, the apron below the dog leg. So it makes it tough. You just, as a driver, a lot of times you're not really, you're kind of picking and choosing where you put it, but that was just a simple mistake. And again, like, it happens in a blink of an eye. You go down there thinking it's going to be fine. That car bottoms out, and then you're along for the ride at that point.
And there goes the 3 of TJ Roberts on the free pass, getting back on the lead lap. And that leaves Chad being 2 laps down, the only car laps down at this moment, and he still has a couple of stage breaks to go. So already our third caution of the night in first stage here at Phoenix Raceway, and we have seen just calamity all over the track. Turn 3, turn 4, turn 2, the dog leg. It is action everywhere around here at Phoenix.
That it really is, Carl. It's to be expected here. Coming in here tonight, I had this in mind as a definite trouble spot for these drivers. Not only that, through the dog leg being a trouble spot, but also coming out of that turn 2. So this track is just super, super tough lately, and it comes down to, this fixed setup here is actually very much on the freer side. So when it's on that free side like that, and what I mean by free, folks, is this car really, really wants to turn left. It does not, most of the time, especially most tracks we go to, I feel like you fight that tight condition where the car wants to push out towards the wall. Not here tonight. Drivers are mostly fighting the rear end from stepping and the rear end trying to pass them pretty much. So it's just that tough of a racetrack. It's that tough of a setup to handle, and the driver, again, like I said earlier, whoever can manage those tires the best, you'll be able to put yourself out front. And, we'll really see drivers who push hard and really use them tires be in a tough spot as the runs go farther on.
And watching these drivers make their way around the track one more time under caution, it makes me wonder, Zach, we talk about brake bias all the time, and you mentioned it, these setups are usually pretty tight. You got to loosen them up. Not this here, not this setup here. Very loose. We always talk about trying to decrease that brake bias, but here you want to increase. But how much is too much? How much do you really want to mess with that brake bias here at Phoenix?
It is definitely tough to say. There's also other adjustments out there, such as the brake master cylinder that we have with this car now. So with the ability to change that, you can get a little bit more fine-tuned brake bias for yourself if you want a little bit more of a catchy brake, or a little bit less of a forgiving braking style. So it really depends on the driver, but in my opinion, you're definitely going to want to be dialing front brake. A lot of times when we go to a lot of these racetracks, especially short tracks, we've been running anywhere from 45 to 48% at most of these tracks. Here tonight, I think you're going to see a lot of drivers up in that 54 to 55 range for that front brake bias.
And that is a huge separation of bias, especially between similar tracks. You don't typically want to go too much outside your comfort zone, but you have to get outside of the comfort zone here at Phoenix, as the field is in control of the 7 of Alex Coffey for the first time tonight, and he gets a decent start, but the 17, I think, got a better start. And don't look now, the 21, Adam Buzzio, trying to throw his name into the mix, looking for another win.
Yeah, my question is now, will Rogers look to pick it up? He saw him drop back there before. Johnny Shea continues his tough night. The 24 is back there. He gets into the wall, but these guys stay side by side up front for the lead. And again, like I was saying, Rogers there, he looked to be saving his stuff. Can he now look to use it? Because we've gotten so close to the stage, I think you cannot save anything now. It is pretty much go to the end of that lap 50.
There is 14 laps left in this stage, and there it is. The 17 makes the pass along the outside. Ooh, the 21 of Buzzio getting into the side of the 83, but they keep it straight and off the wall. And here enters the 18 of Blaine Wilson, teammate to the 21, almost making it 3 wide off the exit of turn 2. That could have been a really bad situation, but Buzzio and Norris keep it all together. But that is going to be a huge blow to Buzzio, as he's going to lose a couple of positions. And in fact, side by side behind him, and these drivers are not giving an inch, as we are 3 wide going into turn 1.
Yeah, and that's the new tires of Mason Halsman there. He elected to come down, use a set, as they would say, and now he's going to be in an interesting spot because he's going to have so much more grip than everybody as he's trying to fly up through the field and try to go get that stage win. Also, right in front of him, Alex Coffey, he's starting to slide a little bit in the 17s. He's got pressure from the 83. Gavin Rogers, though, looking to do his best job and do a disappearing act.
And there we go, Adam Buzzio just trying to stop the bleeding from a little bit of mistake. Definitely being able to balance up, but the 38 of Jamie Ford is right behind him, looking to gain another position. And then underneath him, Blaine Wilson. They look like they're going to tap fenders a little bit on that corner exit. Oh, we have another car spun out. That is the 20. Nigel Christensen on the exit of 2, but he seems like he's gotten it straightened and corrected. We stay green so far, but with 11 laps left to go in the stage, things are picking up here at Phoenix.
Yeah, they really are. It's been a tough time for a few of these drivers farther back in the field, and for Nigel, he is a playoff contender. That is not what he wants to do in that 20 machine. As you can see here, is TJ Roberts trying to move his way forward, but he's got Chad Bean there, the lap down machine. So And there is Nigel Christensen well behind this field now and not going to be anywhere close to stage points.
Not close to stage points. He's just going to have to keep it clean, keep it together toward the end of the stage, collect himself, get some new tires on this Toyota as he gets a little squirrely there on exit or turn 4 again. But right now, all he can do is look forward and plan for moving forward in this field, which can be very, very difficult. You mentioned before, Zach, track position, oh, so important. And this is another one of those tracks where it's just a little more important than some others. But as he's just kind of going to click some laps around, the good thing is he's not going to have to worry about going a lap down, as we still have 9 laps to go in the stage. He still has quite a bit of distance between him and the leader, our new leader actually, of Mason Houseman on those new tires.
Yeah, that's 78. He flew up to the lead and really made a move. But you can see back there in the background, the 83 of Christopher Norris. Major moment for that 83 machine. Pretty much just got completely loose. Got his left sides on the apron and almost wrecked it. Had to correct it and got right in the outside wall. Somehow, he doesn't have a broken toe link, so he looks to be going to continue on. But that right side is definitely hurt.
That right side is flatter than a pancake, Zach. That is going to really hurt what little side force these cars have. And right now, he is still struggling to get that speed back as he's under attack by the 05 of Alex Light and the 56 behind him. And then here we go. There's that yellow car you can see all lining up trying to take this pass and this position away from the 83.
Yeah, they're trying their best here to maybe make the move here, but the 83 is trying to stabilize. Ooh. Behind them, Dallas Manis, he just barely escapes the inside walls. You see him escaping back up on the racetrack, but you can see it. Everybody sliding from corner entry all the way through the center to corner exit. Is almost contact between the 05 and the 83 as they continue to race down the back straightaway here, heading down in the field.
Well, Zach, they say loose is fast and on the edge of out of control, and all of these drivers are on the edge trying to make their way past their competitors, making their way through the field. But the 83 not making it easy for the 05 making this pass, really using the entire track just to try and defend that position. But right now, that's only for 7th position, and we still have 6 laps to go in this stage. Very interesting strategy by the 83 to put up this much of a fight this early on in the race.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably reeling from that mistake he's made, and these two have stayed side by side now for almost 4 laps. So he's definitely fighting there strong, trying to hold on to the spot. Is even up ahead of him. Alex Coffey there. He's got Jamie Ford looking to go around his outside. And Coffey, remember, led the opening laps of this race really after getting it from Gavin Rush 2 cautions. And right now, he's in that 6th position and really had a struggle here after this latest restart. And just shows those tires can really, really be hurt.
They are definitely hurting. He has fallen back quite a few positions. Our 2nd place qualifier really struggling to stay up in the top 5 of this field. As you mentioned, Zach, under attack by the 38 of Lord. And right now, the Ford really making a good run, at least in the corner entry. And Zach, that's what I'm noticing as this race progresses. Even though this is the earlier stage, whoever can get to the inside has a good corner entry, seems to have the speed and the ability to pass. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that as this race in the night progresses.
That we really will. And again, that corner entry, it really all starts there. You know, I recently just, ran some races here and got a little bit of experience. And this track really seems to, you would think most of the time on entry is where you hurt the right front. But it seems like this track, you really do hurt that right rear, getting deep off in that corner because you just carry too much speed. Then you start a 4-wheel slide. And then from there, you're just trying to regain grip for the whole entire corner. And that just equates to the tires being even more upset. So definitely a management game, as they would say. But I tell you, the driver who's probably managed them the best is the driver in 2nd, and that's Gavin Rogers. He's got about a 3-second gap all the way back to Buzzio in 3rd, as Hausman on the new tires has been able to really gap the field.
And, Hausman kind of makes me worry a little bit. He had the new tires. He launched really well. He got the lead, but he didn't let up. He's not preserving those tires. He has a nearly a 4-second gap to the 17 of Gavin Rogers. So it's kind of concerning that he's not allowing himself to lift a little bit, take it a little bit easy. We mentioned only 4 extra sets of tires here tonight, and he already used 1 before the stage ends. So he's definitely going to want to maybe think about dialing it back just a little bit before he burns it up too much. But with that, there is the caution for stage. And ooh, we watch it as 7 of Alex Coffey almost drifts it around 3 and 4. And that caution may save a lot of these drivers, seeing a lot of these cars getting squirrely as the run goes on and on.
Yeah, what a wild stage 1 it was there. 50 laps of sliding all around this Phoenix Raceway. But Mason Halsman was your stage winner. Gavin Rogers is able to bring home second. Third is going to go to Adam Buzzio. Fourth is going to be the 18 of Blaine Wilson. Fifth place is going to go to Jamie Plord. Sixth is going to be Alex Coffey. Seventh is going to go to Alexander Light. Eighth is Christopher Norris. Ninth, Dallas Manis. And rounding out our top 10 for stage 1 is Richard Wolfeser. As here, folks, we always know it's that commercial break time here at Freaky Fast, as we'll be right back here as you head side by side.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You haven't missed a moment as we see the 83 spin through the dog leg, and that is going to bring out another caution here at lap 59. But earlier we saw the 78 get a little loose on that dog leg as well, but he was able to keep it straight. Didn't bring out a caution, but right now that 83 definitely struggling early on with these low tire pressures, Zach. We were talking about it during the break. The first couple of laps is when you really have to be careful, because cold tires, slick track in the first place, you've got to let those tires kind of come to you.
That you really do. I mean, we were talking about, like, maybe just not go across that dog leg, and get that transition to happen. But even in that bank part of the dog leg up there on the racing surface, on these new fresh tires, while they're building air pressure, building that heat, it is so uncontrollably loose there as that speed and that load starts to happen there. And that incident there was even coming kind of out of turn 4. That one never even got to the dog leg. That was just kind of, I think, a little bit of overzealousness there from the 83, jumping in the gas, making a pretty big mistake there. Luckily for his sake, he didn't hit anything and he got a caution, so it helps bring everything back in. But I tell you, one thing that won't be good is those tires, and I think that's one thing he's going to have to deal with here for the rest of this stage, unless he wants to burn a set like Mason Halsman did. I mean, Halsman went out there and used that extra set, but you're not going to get that big advantage here also if you take a set now if you're Christopher Norris. So he's in a weird predicament where he just needs to most likely reset here, try to go as long as possible in this stage with those tires, and then try to maybe reset after that stage break.
Well, the 83 on pit road, I'm seeing if he takes any tires. Doesn't look like he's going to take any tires. He looks like he is repairing some damage, though, that he might have incurred during that spin, maybe towards the end, hitting that inside wall. But right now, the 83 on pit road trying to get some repairs done to that vehicle, but everyone else is back up and running. And Zach, we're seeing another up and down day for a lot of these drivers. Gavin Rogers back up in front. Adam Buzzio was struggling towards the end of, I'm sorry, that was Alex Coffey, but Adam Buzzio started in 5th, up in 2nd. Blaine Wilson sitting there in 3rd where he started. Jamie Plord coming up from the 9th position to sit in 4th, and then Alexander Light rounding out the top 5. So some of these drivers already up and down. I mean, let's look at Jimmy Kubanek. He was the last car on the grid, and now he sits there in a pretty 6th position. He wasn't able to advance into this round, but we know he has the capability and kind of some spots of speed, so we'll have to keep an eye on that 77 car going forward.
That we really will. I mean, you have to keep your eye pretty much on everybody, in my opinion, tonight, because really, I mean, nobody's safe here. We've already seen so many different guys have just minor mistakes that can end your night. And, if only one fast repair, if you have a couple of those mistakes, you're going to be in big trouble. So not only that, you got to miss other people's mistakes. So the odds are definitely against these drivers. But tell you what, Rogers, he's done a great job here. Buzzio also is, they've been able to really manage their stuff. Blaine Wilson, he was able to, drop back all the way from 3rd. He was almost back in around the 8th to 9th position in that first stage. Drove his way all the way back up into the top 3. So he's shown a lot of pace in that 18 as the run goes on. So I, expect these drivers who can manage their stuff to be in really good positions. It's just going to be a question, do we get a long run at the end of this race, or do we get a quick short run? Because if we do get a quick short run, that whole game plan changes. You have to go out there and push from that start of the green flag, and that's where a few things can get a little bit sideways.
And right now, a lot of these drivers have some kind of internal fighting they need to deal with the quick succession of all these cautions, about 20 laps separating roughly. You got to get the speed. You have to try and get those positions, but how hard do you push it earlier on? You want to save those tires. We've been talking about it all night so far, but you need those positions as well. And how do you balance the two? That's what we are going to see the rest of this night. But these drivers are all side by side again, 1 lap to go. And here goes the pace car onto pit lane out of turn 2. Again, reiterating the oddity of this track. But there's Jamie Plord sitting there in the 4th position outside lane. The 21, the 17 side by side leading this field. Gavin Rogers has been in control, except when the Alex Coffey was able to make a pass before that 3rd caution. But here, so far, ever since, the 17 has been in control as he is now. He's going to make his way to the Geico restart zone, and he is going to wait till the end of it and launch. We really delayed the launch. Saw a little bit of contact there and behind him between the 05 and the 18. Looks like the 05 was trying to get a good launch and an early start, and that just did not work because that 17 didn't go. But here we are, side by side, going to turn 1 to 38, way up the track.
Yeah, that 38 really up the groove, but he's going to get a good run there. Actually be able to turn this car down the racetrack there and get the straighter exit off that top side. So great move there, but look at 3 wide. Gregory Schultz at the bottom there is Mason Halsman in the middle in the 78. Kubanek has to back out of it, but it's going to be Halsman who comes out of that ahead of those 3. But again, these restarts have been wild here so far as you see everybody just spread out and look for the grip here on this racing surface that's not very wide.
And the 51 trying to make some headway after a spin earlier in the race, trying to make that time up, but has a definitely, yeah, he looked trying to make it 3 wide between the 45 and the 78, decided against it. But right now, the battle in front of him, they're all 2 wide. Mason Hausman taking the outside line, spanning out 3 wide, almost going into turn 1, and this is for the 5th position. These drivers giving it all, trying to get these stage points, knowing that we already are 16 laps done with the second stage. 37 laps to go left in this second stage. So all these drivers knowing how important these stage points are, trying to edge their way ever forward.
Yeah, they really are. There's definitely some big moves being made by a few of these playoff guys who know stage points can mean a lot, but there's a driver in the back there, the 77 of Kubanek. Somehow he was 90 degrees sideways, pointing towards the inside wall there, and he saves that machine. Dallas Manis has a little bit of a moment there coming there. It's going to be 3 wide down the front straight with him and Coffee, and now Gregory Shaw also. We got the 83 of Christopher Norris trying to drive his way back into position after his spin. I tell you, some of these drivers maybe using a little bit too much tire here just to start this run. They got to get to lap 100, and we've seen those drivers that pushed hard early in this race, they really struggled.
And with that, let me go back to Dallas Manis there, Zach. You can run that apron. Very dangerous to do so. He was able to get through unscathed, but I'm trying to figure out if that was intentional, if that was accidental, because you don't normally see a lot of drivers, especially in this next-gen car, trying to take that apron in 1 and 2. It's definitely an interesting strategy because you know that will definitely wear the tires more because it's so flat on that apron. But all these drivers single file vying for every position, and there's not a lot of gap between any of these drivers. They're all single filed out, but if anyone makes a mistake, the one behind them is ready to pounce.
That they really are. And that apron, it has been utilized before here, and it does have opportunities available to you down there. I think the reason why you're not going to see it too many times here tonight is exactly what happened to Dallas Manis, is when you go up there, it is it's very loose. Oh no, Alex Coffey and the 30 at a poor go around, as it's a major moment coming out of the dog leg. Once again, that place has just been the Achilles heel here for these drivers, and it was really just that running into the upper part of the dog leg, which again, like I said, it loads up so much in that banking that it really, when it unloads coming out of it, is when it gets free. And I think Plord was just really caught off guard there, and Alex Coffey was the one that took the hardest hit there in that 7 machine.
And we mentioned it in the really practice and qualifying, Zach. You got to be aware. You have to have a kind of sixth sense where you think that car next to you is going to be when you traverse that dog leg. And just like that, things can happen, and it's just not what you want to do. And unfortunately for both of those drivers, they are playoff drivers, so they are going to start at the back of this pack when the green flag drops. We're almost halfway through this stage, but they're going to have a tough battle ahead of them as they try and claw their way to maybe to get some of those stage points.
Yeah, that is going to be tough for sure. A tough climb back for Alex Coffey, who did have to tow there and still sitting on pit road. The 7 machine, major damage, and definitely going to use that fast repair. And well, we've seen TJ Roberts, Chad Bino in this race have the tow, and now he's back to 1 lap down, and I believe he may be looking to even get his lap back here. Hopefully as the lucky dog. So it can be done. It's not over for Alex Coffey. This race still has plenty of time left. We haven't even made it to that halfway point yet. So I think that Alex Coffey, it's definitely not a great outlook for him here for the rest of the race, but he still has plenty of time to get himself back in position. And we've seen him do this before at other racetracks, really climb his way back into that contention.
We have seen it before, but Zach, what makes me worry is that first stage, he started off really quick, fell back to 10th position, and then ever since the start of this stage, hasn't really been able to move forward. So the 7 is really struggling with the handling, struggling with the speed here, a little under halfway through this run, and Right now, the 83 of Christopher Norris, I was actually going through the replay, got a little bit of that action as well from the 38 of Florida as he was up in the high line. So the 83 going to come back down pit road, try and get more damage repaired. So we are already a huge mix-up in some of our playoff standings, and some of our playoff drivers running into trouble here early at Phoenix.
That they definitely are, man. 6th caution of the night, 5th one for an incident here. So through the first 70 laps, it's been a little bit of an eventful one so far, but definitely these drivers have been trying to stay on top of it. But I tell you what, also out there, folks, if you want to stay on top of the flag state out there on the racetrack and be able to know exactly what that flag state is, as you see up on the top of our ticker, we got our own iRacing flag flashing there with this latest yellow flag. You can go get yourself your own and get it in your own house, as it's got 64 LEDs, and it's that visual flag system that gives you tons of information out on the racetrack and can do many other various operations. Also, make sure you go check out their digital pit board, also there at iRacingIFlag.com, and use that promo code FreakyFast2022 at purchase to get yourself a discount. So make sure you go check out one of our amazing sponsors there here at Freaky Fast.
And we at Freaky Fest love our amazing sponsors. They allow us to bring this action to everyone at home, all the fans in this virtual world. Bring this to the world, and I absolutely love that they can help us do that. So that they come on board. Don't forget to at least take a look at them. Give them a shout out. Let them know that you're looking at them. We definitely appreciate their support. But we are at 1 to green for the karting 175. And 74 on lap 74, coming on lap 75. So we are going to be exactly halfway through to the end of this stage when this green flag comes out. Will we be able to keep it green for the duration of this stage, or will we have another caution? The only way to find out is if you stay tuned as the drivers are going down the back straightaway, getting ready for the restart zone there in the middle, or kind of the exit of turn 4. Interesting spot to put it, but so far no one has had too many issues. And right now, these drivers are getting ready to launch. Adam Buzzio sitting there in the 2nd position, going through that restart zone. Gavin Rogers decides to launch as soon as he's available and gets a great launch, opening up at least 3-car gap, and again, racing here at Phoenix.
Yeah, great jump again once from that 17. He's been excellent on all these restarts so far, and not too far behind him. Here comes the 78 of Halsman. They also got the group with Blaine Wilson, Gregory Shaw, Alexander Light, all drivers in the top 6 looking to make moves here in the last 25 laps here of stage 2.
And we see teammates starting to get together, the 21 to 18, the 05 and the 51. We see the 45 of Dallas Madness. Nigel Christensen is up there after an early spin. He kind of finished the first stage at the back, but now he's working his way forward in that points position, sitting in 8th position. So great for Nigel to keep it going and keep it clean. But he has a long way to go if he wants to win this race. And caution is out again. Looks like Johnny Shade spins it down the back straight away, and doesn't look like any other damage to too many other drivers. But Johnny Shade's going to bring out this 7th caution of the night.
Yeah, and that was 3 wide action coming off of turn number 4 with contact from Giovanni Perez, the Amco, and the 83 of Christopher Norris. They're racing side by side. They made a little bit of door banging. They're coming off of 4. They get down into the 24. And, man, Johnny Shade nowhere to go. Unfortunate for a playoff driver who's had a tough night. Shade has been trying to mind his own business. He had that early spin in the early going. Now gets taken out by 2 drivers racing right beside him.
And Johnny Shade, 2 wins on super speedways this year. He hasn't been a necessarily regular contender in some of the smaller tracks, but we have mentioned his name a couple of times. He has the ability to get up there, but unfortunately getting caught up in someone else's incident, and that's just what can happen down that back straightaway. Not a lot of room to maneuver, and it just eventually will kind of come together, and someone will take the spin, and unfortunately that was the 21. And right now, so few green flag laps on these tires, the heat, the cool, these cycles, Zach, how does it affect the tires here at Phoenix? Does it actually give them more grip, or does it take more away?
It usually tends to take a little bit more away from it. You know, you build up that heat. It's nice for the first couple laps. Then as the heat starts to overbuild and really build the air pressures up to a higher point, you start to slide around more and more as that tire gets harder and harder. So It's a tough situation because you start off with a very, very upset race car. The tires build a little bit of air pressure. Then the next 10 to 15 laps, they feel pretty amazing personally. Then after that, your car is just pretty much on ice at that point. You have to really manage those first 10 to 15 laps and not overdo it, because at that point of the run is the highest speeds are being turned, the fastest laps are being turned. So that's when you build up that air pressure, you build up that heat, and if you get that heat to a certain point, it is very tough to bring it back down into the optimal range. So the drivers that really don't go out there, use the stuff up in the first 10 to 15 laps, usually once they start to take off and actually go, the tires are in a much more optimal spot, that the speeds have slowed down enough to where they don't start overheating the tire, while other drivers who push really, really hard, those tires are just overheating, and they are just looking at every point to cool them down, and it's super tough to get them back cold once you get them hot.
Well, it's super tough to do that, but it's also super tough to cool down a driver when he gets super hot. All these restarts, all these drivers know that is when you want to make your move. The cars are in close proximity. You don't have to do much to make a pass, but you run the risk of overheating those tires. And that's just the kind of balance game all these drivers have been trying to play all night long, making sure they stay out of the trouble, keep the equipment at least underneath them, but at the same time keep speed. And that can be some of the hardest driving for a driver, maintaining all those different factors of a race. And we are still not even halfway through this race, but 20 laps until the end of this second stage. 1 lap to go until we go green, Zach. We have a long way to go, and I think some of these drivers are losing a little bit of patience with each other.
It can happen, man. It can happen a lot of times. But one thing I will say is a lot of these drivers have had mostly simple mistakes. So it's not really been too many people running into each other. There has been some aggressive racing out there. I don't think there's too many tempers flaring here with these drivers. The one thing that can make those tempers build, though, is the continual cautions. If you keep getting caution after caution, the patience line just gets thinner and thinner, and then when it breaks, that's usually when you start seeing the contact being made. That can lead to even more mistakes. So these drivers looking to hold on to it, but as we get closer to this restart zone, we'll see Ken Rogers once again jump the field.
And we are about to find out who rolls into turn 3, getting ready to hit that Geico restart zone. He's been mixing it up here tonight, and he waits again about halfway through the restart zone before he goes. He gets another good launch, not as quite as good as the one from last time, but here we go. They are fanning out down the dogleg. That purple 05 car into turn 1 really had to whoa it up there so he can make that turn 1. But here we go. Some bumper banging between the 51 and the 83 through turn 1, side by side from 6 on back.
Yeah, those two raced really hard earlier in this race, and once again, pretty close action between almost the 83 back into the back bumper of that 51. That is already, these cars so loose, you cannot get into somebody. That will definitely bring out an incident. So that 83's got to watch out for that, not to get into there too deep. You got to make that pass coming off the corner, not going into the corner.
And another thing you don't want to do is spin him out. And the worst case scenario for that is if he doesn't go anywhere. The worst case is when he gets sideways, but he keeps going in that straight line trying to save it, you end up getting both of your cars damaged. And that 83 already is trying to recover from some damage from earlier incidents, including that last caution, a little bit of a pinball between the wall and the 11 of Perez D'Amico. But right now, fighting with the 77, and the 77 making the outside line work as he tries to get around the 83 of Christopher Norris, and he is going to almost do it down the back straightaway. There it is, the 83 tucking up in the outside line, trying to get that arc into 3 and 4.
Yeah, that 83 really just way too deep into the corner. You see how he shot to the outside of the 77. Now got to be aggressive and go down on the dogleg to get back to the inside. But, that right there is just definitely hurting the tires. I know we don't have too far left in this run, but any little bit of conservation you can make will help you for farther in this race. And right now, that 83 gets back around Kubanek, but how long will it be before another mistake rears its ugly head for him? But the 20 machine of Christensen, he's working his way farther back up after his mistake in getting loose in the dogleg earlier in this race. So drivers who made mistakes are starting to get themselves back in position here and try to get themselves stage points.
And all these drivers are finally getting used to the car, knowing what it's doing, can anticipate what's happening, and it's beginning to get a little bit better. A little more bold moves have been occurring, but we've seen him for the most part stay clean and green. But the 20 has got to get away around the 77 to get one extra stage point. But these top four drivers right here, all playoff drivers, all within a second of each other, just trying to claw their way, get that stage win, those 10 extra bonus points. But they have a lot to fight against, especially each other. And right now, there looks to be a pass. That is the 17. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Johnny Shade going another lap down after having to get some damage repaired. So that'll put Johnny Shade about 3 laps down.
Yeah, Shade's day is continuing just to get darker and darker for him, as it's not been playing out for that 24 machine, but he'll try his best here to work himself back into position, maybe try to get in a lucky dog spot. But at the moment, I tell you what, Rogers, he's got the pressure because Hausman, our stage 1 winner with that taking of the tires, he's been able to position himself well here in second, and we're going to be coming up on 10 laps to go here and about 3 more laps in this stage. And I tell you what, the 78 could be positioning himself to maybe win another one, and that would be huge to come out here with 20 stage points after tonight's race.
And that would be huge indeed. Never not having to think too much about points going forward into Bristol next week. But a non-playoff driver we need to talk about is the 05 Alexander Light. Started in 6th position. He's pretty much stayed in the top 5 all night long. He's kept his tires clean, kept his nose clean, hasn't had too many incidents on track or spinning, so he's done really well keeping that car underneath him. But behind him is a whole gaggle of cars. It's Blaine Wilson, Gregory Shaw, Christopher Norris, Jimmy Kubinek, and we've seen the 83 and 51 fight each other hard all day long so far, and they continue to do so down the back straightaway.
That they do, and I tell you what, right there, the 51's going to jump to the outside of the 83. Those two definitely keeping the battle up at least for themselves, but they might be holding themselves up a little bit of how aggressive the moves have been between those two. But it's at least mutual between the two, so you can at least say it's coming from both sides of the picture. But I'll tell you what, Greg has had and Christopher both had good runs at Martinsville, so not surprised to see him run too good here tonight at the short track. So they'll be looking to come back from the few mistakes they've made tonight, but they have been able to work themselves into position here as they'll be coming up on the 24 Johnny Shade here in the next few moments. This could stack them up a little bit also.
And this will be definitely interesting to see a couple of different approaches into these corners with the lap traffic. That also changes things, as you mentioned. Like we see the 51 get right up on the bumper of this 83 machine, looking to the inside, can't quite make it happen. Going into turn 3, the 83 just really dives it deep, and he's going to get a little bit of a tap from the 51. That was super close, man. These guys are really fighting for that 7th position.
And just getting in a little bit too deep for sure. I don't know if I didn't say a little bit, but just about a lot too deep for this 83. And that's been something I've watched from him throughout the night, and that's where the 51's taking advantage. He's backing up the corner just a little bit more, rolling through the center, and is able to make the moves stick. So it's looking good for Gregory Shaw, but right in front of him, Johnny Shea, he's looking to hold this spot in front of him. But these two are looking to battle, and these two might get a little bit mixy here if they can't get around this 24, but they're going to be going down the inside here, down through the dog leg, and they'll be looking to make the pass on Johnny Shea.
And here the 83 is going to be pitched down a little lower on that inside line of turn 1, not allowing the great arc that he would like to do, and that's going to allow the 51 to catch up. And in fact, the 51 has the run, being able to use this lap car actually to gain a little bit of time on the 83. So lap traffic playing a huge role here in the top 10, and there it is, the crossover move by the 51 down the dog leg. Great move by the 51. Can the 83 roll him off? We'll see. But watching all this is the 20 of Nigel Christensen. He's going to try and make the pass on Johnny Shade really close there to the inside. He's trying to get past those two guys, as he's also in the playoff run as well. So Nigel, keeping an eye on that battle as they keep side by side.
That they do, and I tell you what, the battle up front has been good to watch too. Hausman has been trying to hold off Buzzio, who's been all over the back bumper here, trying to get around to get back to that second spot where he was, in 3rd in the last stage. This would be good points for Buzzio, but Hausman blinks out a little bit. That's going to cause Buzzio just a little bit loose there, as now maybe even Light behind could maybe make a move.
Yeah, we've been seeing a couple of connection issues with Mason Hausman, especially during cautions. He's been blinking in and out. So far, stable, but we all have to keep an eye on that 78 because, Zach, you know, when that car around you or in front of you has an unstable connection, kind of makes you unstable, really uncomfortable. You don't want to push it too hard, and that's one thing you got to keep in mind as well for this virtual iRacing. There's so many components necessary. You want to make sure all of it is 100%, and just sometimes things happen. The internet kind of blinks out, but right now Adam Buzzio doing a really good job of maintaining this pace.
That he is, man. And I tell you what, another major moment, the 7 of Alex Coffey, remember, took the fast repair. He got major loose coming out of turn number 4 and just destroyed the inside pit wall, and he is on pit road, broken toe link. He's going to have a long time sitting there. This 7 machine might be in a must-win position entering next week.
And Zach, I think we all know you do not want to be in a must-win position at Bristol because anything can happen. I mean, that's kind of like a short track super speedway. Those laps tick away so quickly. Things happen so fast in front of you, it's hard to do anything. So you do not want to have to go into Bristol Motor Speedway in a hole, but that's what what the 7 will have to do. But who's not in a hole right now is Mason Houseman, as we are 3 laps to go to the end of the stage, and Mason Houseman winning the first stage and currently running second in this stage. Houseman doing a really good job acquiring those points early on in this race.
Yeah, it's been a flip-flop of the top 2 positions for these drivers here tonight, and you know, Houseman has won that first stage, looking to hold on the second here. It's looking like Gavin Rogers is going to hold on to that lead position. So he's got a sizable gap, but here comes Buzzio. He's made the move, and oh, Houseman, big moment there into the wall, and that's going to upset that car. Now here comes the 05 and the 18 up into the 05, and there is a wreck coming to the white flag of the stage.
And that's what happens down that back straightaway. There was a moment, an incident between 2 drivers, and the other drivers behind them trying to take advantage, trying to fill that hole. Unfortunately, they were all going for the same real estate, and that's going to cause that issue. And I actually think that will be our stage break, Zach. So already 100 laps in the books here for the Wicked Racing League Buttkicker Cup Series, and a lot of dramatic fashion, a lot of dramatic racing already.
And it was the end of our stage. Gavin Rogers with the stage win. I believe Adam Buzzio is going to come home in second. Mason Houseman going to be third. Christopher Norris is going to be fourth. Fifth is going to go to Gregory Shaw. Sixth is going to be Nigel Christensen. Seventh is going to be Alexander Light. Richard Wolfenser is going to be in the 8th position. Ninth is going to go to Jimmy Kubanek. 10th is going to be Giovanni Perez Diamco. As what a wild stage 2 that was there, and looks like some interesting strategies also being played here as Buzzio and Houseman have stayed out here and looking to possibly do something a little different. This is definitely interesting to see. I'll see if they come back down, but as we'll be going side by side, we'll be back right in a moment, folks.
Drivers, start your engines! 4, 3, 2, 1, green screen. No rear grip whatsoever, up sideways. Sideways everywhere. Come on, man, do what you can. The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, the 5 wide is a single. The worst is it. They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, they're wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
What second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200.
Welcome back, race fans. We are back under yellow for the 9th time tonight. We have completed 2 stages, but the last caution was due to the 77 of Kubanek getting loose on those cold, fresh tires up on the dogleg, and just another one of those incidents where he just couldn't correct it in time and came down. It was able to, unfortunately, collect some other cars behind him. But right now, the 17, the 83, the 18, and the 20 in the top 4 positions. The only driver not in the playoff there is the 83 of Christopher Norris. And right now, we are 1 lap to go before we go green once more on lap 110. Zach, with the going green, it'll be 65 laps till the end. When do you anticipate pit stops? I don't think we're going to have green flag pit stops tonight, but pit stops will be almost a necessity unless we keep this this rhythm of cautions.
Yeah, I think it's tough because, you know, these guys have used technically 2 sets of tires now, and they have 2 sets left in the pit road because of the ones they started on. So only 2 sets left in pit road. You're going to have to use those very sparingly, but I think here if we get around 120, 125, you'll probably see people starting to come to pit road, maybe look to use one of those 2 sets.
And here we are down the back straightaway. The field in the hands of the 17 once again. That aggressive 83 machine on the outside, though. What will they do? The 17 gets a great launch at the beginning of the restart zone. The 83 kind of caught snapping there. In fact, they're going 3 wide behind him. The 18 and the 20 almost decided to make the run, but decided against it. But right now the 18 trying to go low, the 83 and the 17, and we have another caution going into turn 1. So here we are, our 10th caution of the night coming on lap 110.
And this is a big one here, as there's multiple cars involved in it. I believe it all started right around Giovanni Perez, the M-Code. It was just a lot of drivers going down really far on that apron, trying to get the big cut there on that restart. It was 3 wide between the 78 and 05 and the 11. Then the 11 backs out of it. And I think with him backing out of that situation, Adam Buzzio really had nowhere to go. Hit him in the rear bumper. And from there, it was multiple drivers into it. Sam Dyer, Greg Shaw, Jimmy Kubinek, the 9 of Chad Bean. So multiple drivers involved in this one. But an interesting call here. Oh, looks like the 83. He makes the big decision to go back from pit road up onto the racing track and not hit pit road.
And Zach, I was just looking at that. A lot of drivers were on the brakes trying to avoid it and ended up getting loose and spinning out. So under braking, under throttle, these cars are just loose all around and a complete handful for these drivers. Everyone really struggling to keep the grip underneath them, as this is, like I said, our 10th caution of the night. We are over halfway, but we still have 65 laps of racing to go before we determine who wins this race. So there's still a lot of racing left to go.
That there really is, Carl. Still plenty of racing to go out here at the Phoenix Raceway. It's been a wild night here so far in the desert, but we got some time here under caution right now. Let's go ahead and bring up our merch here, folks, as you can go check us out here. As we got hoodies and t-shirts here with our logo on it at Freaky Fast Broadcasting at the Store Frontier. As you can see, Store Frontier at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll have a link out in the chat here in a few moments if you want to go check that out and get yourself to be part of the Freaky Fast family here and get yourself some merch. So thank you very much for always tuning in. And if you want to join in and get yourself some nice merch there, again, go check out our store there. So again, what a night it's been here so far. Man, Carl, I tell you what, these drivers are going to be looking to hold on to it in these final laps, but it's been a tough one for the drivers. It's, again, very, very tough to drive here at Phoenix. This setup is on the very, very ragged edge, and it's going to show here who can master it. And really, the one who's I haven't seen have really any issues here tonight, that 17 of Gavin Rogers, he has been picture perfect, making the most out of his tires, manage them very well, and then when he needs to go, he can go.
Well, Zach, you mentioned it at the beginning of this race. The driver who makes the least amount of mistakes will find himself out front, and that driver right now is Gavin Rogers. Everyone else around him has had some sort of incident. The 83 we've seen on pit road repairing damage, 18 spinning out a little bit, the 20 with a spin early on in stage 1. So a lot of these drivers around them having issues so far this race, except himself. So he is looking really good to keep it, but it doesn't help with all these cautions. He has the ability to run away with this race, put on a clinic, as we've seen the 17 do so many times before here in the Wicked Racing League Buttkicker Cup Series. But these cautions are all allowing him to get all bunched up again and not really allowing the 17 to stretch his legs. So you mentioned that that anxiety, that frustration maybe starting to boil over to a little bit here later on in this race.
That it really can, man. This is a place that it can definitely do it. Short track racing, as they would say here in the Phoenix Raceway, and it definitely puts on a show here. As I can't even expect what we're going to see coming down to the end of this when it actually gets down to the important part here, where these drivers got to make the moves, and for that, certain timing. So we'll see how it all works out. But right now, at the moment, with this caution flag here, it's our 10th one of the night. They'll be going back to green here, and it'll be that 17 once again leading us to the green. He's pretty much been in that position all night long. Can he continue to hold that?
Well, we will see as the pace cars on pit lane, they make the long trek down the back straightaway. The 17 has had a really good strategy in the restart zone. He's mixed it up. He has not been predictable in his launches. He's launched at the beginning. He's waited until the end. We will see what he does as he grows and rolls through turn 3 into the restart zone. Looks like he's going to wait a little bit and, in fact, get a little bit of a delay before he gets on the throttle, allowing everyone else to bunch up behind him. But away he goes, leading this field into turn 1.
Yeah, another great start again, out to a couple car length gap there on the 83 of Christopher Norris. But behind those two, the 18 of Blaine Wilson makes the pass on his teammate Nigel Christensen. Here comes Mason Hossman once again in that 78, trying to get back some track position, along with Adam Buzzio back in the 21, who lost the most here in that stage of pit stops. Remember, him and Hossman both missed pit road to come down the next lap later, and it really knocked them out of this top track position. But the speed they've shown, they should be able to work their way back up.
Well, also, that gives them 1 lap fresher tires, and that could definitely help with the grip of this car as the run goes along, if they can save enough. Mason Hausman definitely doing what he can to get himself back up there, but Adam Buzzio kind of mired there in 7th position behind Richard Wolsifer in the 56, and behind his teammate also of Nigel Christensen. So he has a lot of work to do if he wants to get himself back up into that top 5. But right now, all these drivers trying to get single file, but looks like Mason Hausman making moves to the inside of Blaine Wilson. They are bumping doors there, and he makes the pass. The 18's just going to kind of let him go down the back straightaway, but here we are, Mason Hausman into the 3rd position.
Yeah, we've seen Blaine Wilson be a very good driver at managing his tires. I think he's doing the similar condition there, just lets that 78 go ahead forward as he tries to make the run later in the available time. But behind him, Adam Buzzio looking to make the move on the 56 up ahead of him. He's also got his teammate of Christensen, and Adam does get that pass done. So great move there from Adam as he's trying to gain back his track position he lost out through the pit stop sequence.
And that might have been a little bit of help from the 56, not wanting to put up too much of a fight with the playoff driver, and in fact, might have let the 21 through. But what that also did is he didn't have to lose too much time, didn't lose too much space with that move. He was able to get right back in line and follow the 21, so good on the 56 for that. But right now, the 78 making moves, driving really aggressively into the entry of the corner, banging doors. He's right now side by side with the 83 of Christopher Norris, who we've also noted is extremely aggressive here, especially earlier on in the run. But the 78 holding strong on the inside line. He looks like he's going to edge out Christopher Norris by a nose with that lap.
Yeah, he is going to edge him out just a little bit. He should clear there as you see those three all mixing it up still as Rogers tries to get away. But there goes Buzzio once again making the pass on Christensen. Buzzio is really making the moves up here after that contact to the back of the 11. Luckily for his sake, no major damage as they continue on and head down to 3 and 4 here. And everybody's starting to stack up a little bit. We'll start to see who manages their stuff the best. But it's tough to manage here when you've seen a race that has had 10 cautions so far. As a driver, it's very, very tough to manage that, and you got to be able to go out there and really pick and choose your battles. But you also can't give up too much track position, because if the cautions continue to fly, it's going to be tough to make those passes without having too many green flag laps.
Exactly, Zach, and we've been harping on it all night long. Track position, track position, track position. These drivers know they need it, and they want it so bad, making some really aggressive moves during the restarts. But it's definitely had its mixed results. Some contacts, some crashes. Oh, it looks like the 20 of Nigel Christensen is going to go around in turn 1. Will he be able to save? He walks up the track, and that is going to be our 11th caution of the night here on lap 122.
Yeah, this is definitely a wild one there, as more drivers having a few mistakes, man, and it's just simple, very simple mistakes here. This place is just notorious for them, and I tell you what, here that another caution coming out for our 11th one, 10th one of a actual incident, and Nigel Christensen is that man that was involved in it, as he just lost it heading down in the 3.
And that was another incident. Zach, you mentioned the brake biases, the cylinders. That was corner exit. He got on the brakes to hit turn 1, and he just lost the rear end there. And right now, how much... I mean, would you try and adjust your bias after that, or are you trying to get a rhythm? You don't want to adjust too much. You want to be able to feel comfortable in your car, but how often are you changing what you can change in that car? It's kind of a, tug of war between the two.
That's a great way to describe it. It is a tug of war, because you want to have that brake bias farther back to help the turn in, and a lot of times when you move it that far forward, also too far forward, it can really make that front end tight and not want to have the turn that you need for, the exits for the entries of these corners. But also a good way to be able to run the brake bias a little bit farther back and also keep that stable entry is just brake a little bit earlier, use a little bit less brake, do a little bit less on entry, and it should tend to have the better effect. But it's definitely a balancing act trying to find that perfect bias. And yeah, that incident there, that kind of comes down to the brakes. I mean, that was where the 20 lost it. And when it's that part of the corner, it's something to do with the entry stability of that car.
And a lot of different strategies are playing out. All of the top 9 cars are roughly on the same strategy, except maybe Houseman and Buzzio. We noted they missed pit road when it first opened during that last caution. They have one less lap on those tires, but everyone else behind them, Nigel Christensen getting a set of tires, or at least coming in, Jamie Plord coming in, Gregory Shaw on the lead lap again after some incidents back to back in the last stage, so he's going to be back on the lead lap. Jimmy Kubinek still on the lead lap after some incidents. So a mixed bag of strategies, a mixed bag of approaches so far to this latter half of the race.
That really has been a mixed bag for sure. And while we're back under caution, might as well have some time to shout out one of our last sponsors here tonight, and that is the Admin Box, folks. If you haven't checked out the Admin Box, make sure you go and do it. It's one of the best button boxes out there, and it's really a pleasure to have them on board here with us at Freaky Fast. As you can head on over to adminbox.com, and that is Admin Box with 2 X's there in box, so you can make sure you get to the right place, because man, that button box helps you with race control, driver functionality, and also the pit options with LED backlighting that makes all the buttons highly visible. So make sure you head on over there, and if you want race control at your fingertips, head on over to Admin Box, check it on out, and use our discount code FFB/BOXX at purchase, and you'll get yourself a discount from Freaky Fast here in Admin Box. So thank you again to Admin Box and all our sponsors we've given a shout out to here tonight. It's a pleasure to have them on board. And it's also a pleasure to see how these last 50 laps are going to play out. As it looks like Rogers there still holding position here up in this lead spot. So he's done that for majority of the night, other than when Alex Coffey took the lead. And it's been a tough night for Coffey ever since then, as he's back in 17th, 23 laps down. And I believe he's trying to get back out on the racetrack to see if he can gain any bit of spots, because we know any little point can matter when it comes to these playoffs, and especially when it comes down to Bristol next week before we head to Charlotte for that championship race. Alex Coffey wants to be in position to win a championship.
He definitely does, and we saw it last week, Zach. The closing laps of that race were absolutely insane, and we can feel the pressure up here in the booth ramping up. We're getting ready. We're at the final end of this race, 50 laps to go, and all of these playoff drivers at the front are just itching to get that win, to punch their ticket into the championship race in a couple of weeks. But they have to get done with these 50 laps first. And there it is, another good launch by the by the 17, but the 78 actually got almost equally good launch, able to keep up. But the 83 of Christopher Norris is inside on turn 1 of the 78, and side by side further on back.
Yeah, these guys have been mixing it up on these restarts, and that's been the place to get the most passes done for sure, as it looks like every single person looking for any little bit of ground they can gain. But look at Hausman here. He goes to the look to make the move. And I was kind of surprised we didn't see anybody hit pit road. I'm not surprised by Hausman. He has 1 set of tires left, while the rest of this group has 2 sets of tires. I was expecting maybe someone to take advantage of that latest caution to hit pit road, but it seems like nobody did here up in these top positions, as a couple guys did farther back. We'll see if they can make their way on up. But here we go, the 18 of Wilson down to the inside of Norris there, trying to make the move on the 83, who's had somewhat of an up and down night.
Well, up and down indeed, but right now it's trending upwards as he is in that last podium position. Blaine Wilson, though, really aggressive on the entry of turn 1, trying to get to the bottom there, help the car turn, can't quite make the move. But the top 5 are all almost under a blanket, really, single file, really all through the top 10, almost the entire field single file right now. But these drivers just trying to make it to the end. 47 coming on 46 laps to go here at Phoenix. They just want to get to the end at this point and make sure that they have a full car in one piece when the checkered flag flies.
That they really do. You got to be in one piece to make it to that checkered flag, and so many playoff guys here, they need to be able to do that. As Hossman's in second, Rogers in first, Wilson there in fourth, Buzzio fifth. It's been a great showing for those 4 drivers, and there's only 4 drivers who make that final 4. Will they be the ones that we look for later, heading into Bristol next week to be the ones in position for that? But I tell you what, all it takes is one simple win for one of these drivers farther back who had a tough night, such as Alex Coffey in 17th, to be able to move themselves on at Bristol next week. But Bristol, always a place, as they call the last great Coliseum. You got to be a gladiator there to survive.
And this may be great practice, but some of the non-playoff drivers looking to disrupt the playoff party, such as the 83 of Norris in that top 3rd position. He's been in the mix, and then the next non-playoff drivers behind them are Light and Wolsifer, also trying to make their ways up, not without some incidents, but doing really well so far as this run progresses. There's Adam Buzzio trying to get a little bit of a run on his teammate of Blaine Wilson, but all of these drivers kind of evenly spaced, giving each other a decent amount of space as we have 43 laps to go. But as these laps tick away, Zach, I have a feeling this space will be less and less. The moves will be much more aggressive and much more impactful.
No doubt, every lap that we tick off, it'll be a more impactful pass, no doubt, Carl. So we'll see, can these drivers amount to what they need for heading into next week, and who will be the one that wins? But oh no, there it is, caution out on the racetrack, and the 11 of Giovanni Perez Diamco ends up backwards off of the corner exit. And man, just a tough night for that 11 machine, and he actually gets into the 20 of Nigel Christensen there. So tough break for Christensen, who's back in 11th, the playoff driver. So tough night for that 11, who seems like he's had a few mistakes here.
The 11 has had a rough couple of weeks, actually. These short tracks have a certain kind of rhythm to them, and he just kind of lost it there on the exit of turn 2, and just tried to correct it and overcorrected it. But it's just, Zach, between the intermediates like these, the mile and a halves, the super speedways drive their own way, but these short tracks are something else, and some drivers can get it, some drivers not. I know I struggle at these short tracks, so it's very interesting to see who prevails and who actually struggles here at some of these short tracks.
Yeah, short tracks are just really one of the most difficult spots of all the racetracks that we go to. It's similar to road course racing. You have to be very good on the brakes, very good on the throttle, so it takes a bunch of demand from the driver, and the driver really has to take on a big task there to keep the car in one piece here tonight. So all these drivers are fighting the same thing, and it's just the one driver that can fight it the best will be the one in the good position. But as you can see here with this caution also, it's put now the 77 of Kubanek, the 38 of Plord, and also the 20 of Christensen out front here, as I believe also the 11 stayed out there as Perez Diamco. He's up to the 4th position. So interesting call from him there. But man, oh man, it's definitely a wild time here to stay out, especially this late into the race. But they could be looking to save them sets of tires.
Well, here we are, 41, coming on 40 laps to go left in this race. You got to make a move. You got to try to do something different. And right now, the only one that's going to be able to beat the 17 of Gavin Rogers would be Gavin Rogers. And right now, you have to think outside the box. You got to get that track position. You got to try and do something different and try and get that leader, that fast car in traffic. And right now, Kubanek, Plord, Christensen, all of these drivers are doing it a little differently. They may be trying to save a set of tires, but right now, putting that fast car behind them could help them in the long run.
That it really could. I mean, you never know how this is all going to play out. Track position, we talked about it being valuable all night. Well, now you got the track position that you've been looking for if you're Kubanek, and that is, again, started in 19th, rear of this field, now up in the lead position, and he's had a few, bumps and bruises here throughout the night, but it just shows you stay with it, you can get yourself back up in position. And if this goes long enough to where the other drivers out there want to go and come back down the pit road after we get another caution maybe later, it will possibly play into their hands where they have better track position than they had before. So that might be the game they're playing. Also, if you're Plord, you're a playoff guy along with Christensen, so this is definitely going to be wild between those two who need all the points they can get.
Well, I'm looking at my tracker here, Zach, and it looks like Kubanek, Plord are on 14 laps on this run. Christensen on 12. Perez D'Amico, 37. So Perez has the longest stint on those tires, on that fuel. Everyone else behind him just pit during that last caution cycle. So this is going to be very interesting seeing these top 4 drivers all try and make their way and keep the fast cars behind them. And you see it right now, race fans. They are gritting up, 1 to go. Once again, getting ready for another restart here for the Wicked Racing League.
Yeah, definitely going to be another wild start here for these guys. And interesting to see Perez D'Amico didn't get the EOL as he brought out that latest caution. I believe he does have a black flag also, so he's going to come to pit road here. This could get a little messy, folks.
And he's going to be on that outside line. He's going to have to dip down, try to get to that inside line as the whole field is going into turn 1. But we will have to deal with that here in a little bit as the 77 hits the Geico restart zone. The 11 really outside. They are going 3 wide, crossing the stripe, causing a huge stack up behind the 11. That is crazy driving as the 11 is just trying to get down to the bottom of the track, but unable to as everyone else starts going around him.
Yeah, definitely a tough start there for him, and he was not able to get down low. He's going to be waiting as now the 05, a light there gets loose down into the inside wall as Kubinek slides up the racetrack, now poured up into him, and even Christensen here as he's going to get a lap led in the 20 machine. But here comes the 17 of Gavin Rogers as everybody spreads out through the dogleg.
And here it is at 38 of Ford, another playoff driver. He's been in the top 5, but now he's leading a lap, trying to seal the deal, getting a win to get this taken care of, but not letting him go is the 20 of Nigel Christensen, holding strong on that outside line. He's going to take the pass on that outside line, and Kubinek, Rogers all behind him, Wilson, Rogers, and we have another caution on the track. That is the 78 coming into turn 3, the 78 and the 9 of Chad Bean. So again, under caution, 13th time tonight, 36 laps to go.
Yeah, interesting wreck there from Mason Halsman. I saw he hit the inside wall and really hard coming out of 3 and 4. It looked like he was trying to regain it, and then I don't know what happened from there. It just seemed like the car just going back and forth, left and right, until it finally broke loose, and Chad Bean unfortunately had nowhere to go. So the 78, I don't know if he broke any toe links. He doesn't have any type of required repair, so it doesn't seem like that's the case, but that car just seemed to fight him back and forth before it finally just let go going into the corner. So not sure exactly what went on there with the 78.
And that is very interesting. I don't know if maybe he was just trying to get on the throttle too much and keep it under control, but he really was weaving down that back straightaway even after hitting that inside wall. So we're going to have to definitely keep an eye out for that, see if he has any extra damage. But bizarre caution here on lap 141.
Yeah, that was a little bit bizarre. I would definitely put it that way, as it seemed like he had it all gathered up, and then all of a sudden it just seemed to continue to fight him down the straightaway. So I unsure what happened. He probably knows best there in the car, knows exactly how that all played out, but they'll probably be looking to come to pit road, get him some service done, and get that car worked on, as I believe also you'll have Sam Dyer, the 11 of Giovanni Perez D'Amico, come down, and they'll be looking to get some service done. And also for Halsman, he does have a black flag, so I'm not sure exactly where that came from for him. I think that may be actually just the EOL they're giving him, but we'll have to wait and see, because right now on our list it's showing him as having a black flag. Is definitely interesting for him, who will be trying to make up the ground here.
Well, who hasn't made up the ground? The 17 of Gavin Rogers, only making up a couple of spots during that restart. He still has 4 cars in front of him that he needs to pass if he wants to win this race. And really, that caution helped those 3 cars that did not pit that last round. That's going to let them tick away these laps, maintain that track position at least for a couple more laps. But the 20, the 38, and the 77 looking pretty solid so far, even after that latest restart, keeping those tires warm and looking a little more stable than some of these other drivers on fresh tires.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It's looking to be that way. And I tell you, Rogers, like you said, who's been back in that 4th spot, he's going to have to work here for this. He's been so quick all night long. It doesn't matter, the short run, the long run, it seems like he's had it dialed in pretty much every single way. But he's got the fight here. This is not over. All it takes is one incident, and he could be in a tough position, just like the rest of his competition has been for tonight. He hasn't made that mistake yet, but just because he has it doesn't mean it's not lurking around the corner. So he's got to stay on top of his stuff here if he wants to go back to victory lane. It's been, a while since personally the 17 has been able to get in that position. He's been fighting a lot of connection issues and other such things. So it's going to be good for him to get this good run and try to get this win here tonight. So we'll see can the 17 do it, but he's going to have some tough competition. He's got Blaine Wilton on the outside along with him. Can those newer tires get by these top three who have stayed out?
And we are about to find out as they are side by side once again. The hands in control of the 20 of Christensen, and there are some interesting checkups during this caution, and that just makes it that just shows how difficult it is to maintain speed when you don't have that pace car to help you. And they are all bunched up on that inside line getting ready to hit that Geico restart zone. And here it is, the 20 getting ready to launch, and he waits to almost the later half of that restart zone to go, and already the 51 of Gregory Shaw to the inside of the 83. We've documented the battle those two had earlier on in this run, and right again, they are bumper to bumper, door to door, going at it into turn one.
That they are, Carl, and I tell you what, that restart there on the inside line definitely a little checked up from that 77 back from the back of the 20, so it definitely made things interesting. But here comes Gavin Rogers now looking to the inside here of Plord, but he's also got that 83 right behind him. The stack up is huge, almost contact between those drivers. Is now Rogers trying to look to the inside here on the dog leg down through the apron, and now down into 3 and 4, or sorry, 1 and 2. Plord drives it in super deep on the outside groove, and now Christian's still holding onto the spot. Now comes Gregory Shaw in the 51. The new tires firing off for those drivers behind.
Gavin Rogers almost making it 3 wide into turn one, decided against it. But yeah, you mentioned it, Zach. That 51 is looking like Superman on those new tires, but he drifts up the track in 3 and 4. He's going to lose all that track position. Here it is, the 17 going way low during the dog leg. We are going 3 wide into turn one, 17, 20 to 38. Now the 83, 20, and the 51, the 20 in those old tires is really starting to struggle. But Jamie Ford in that clean air is continuing to move forward, and there's a wreck down the back straightaway. They go pinching in the 3 wide down the back stretch. The 20, the 83, the 51, just not enough room for all of those drivers, and under caution again here for the Wicked Racing League.
Yeah, huge mistake from Christopher Norris. They're just, I don't know if he didn't get the call 3 wide or not, but he just came right up the racetrack, shoved the 20 up into the 51, and from there, it was fireworks flying. And Adam Buzzio catches a lot of it. He takes a heavy hit, and he's going to have required repair on his car, hopefully having maybe a fast repair here at the end to be able to get that car fixed up. But tough break there, and it's just a mistake from the 83 getting a little too over aggressive there on the exit. You got to hold your lane and stay down low. If you slide up into that car in the middle lane, that's all on you. So that 83 definitely not having the best night here, and maybe not making the most friends.
The 83 has been aggressive all night long. He knows that track position is important. He knows he can get those positions on the restart, but when he's been taking it 3 wide, he's just miscalculated a couple of inches. And Zach, sometimes that's all that matters. This is a game of inches, and if you just miss your mark by that much, you can cause an incident, and we saw it there. But right now, Jamie Plord in that lead position, but next to him restarting will be that Gavin Rogers on that fresher set of tires, and so Jamie Plord may not be in the best position for a win, but he still has the top 10, maybe even a podium, depending on how the rest of the race plays out.
It really does, man. This has been an interesting scenario with him being able to get up here out front and keep hold of that track position. And even Christensen, who was in that wreck, who had the 83 slide up into him, somehow when he got up into Greg Shaw, who was just minding his own business up top there on the exit, when it hit Greg Shaw, it turned Greg down the racetrack into Christopher, and the 20 actually backed perfectly out of it, and he was able to hold forth. So really worked out for Christensen. Did not work out for his teammate Buzzio, though, who had to come down, get his fast repair. And luckily for him, though, he had that fast repair in his back pocket and saved him in this situation. So definitely one of those moments where you're glad it played out for you like it did.
Definitely, and with 27 laps to go, we're probably going to go green with roughly 25 laps. It's good to have that fast repair, be able to keep it at the end, but he's going to have to make sure he keeps that nose clean going through the rest of the field, as we still have 14 drivers on the lead lap. So he still has an uphill battle, even with that, avoidance maneuver. So it's going to be fun to see how he gets through even with using that fast report. But like you said, Zach, definitely good to have, especially in the latter stages of the race.
Yeah, it's always, as they would say, that mulligan to fall back on. So it's good for those drivers to have that, but you're going to have to make the most of it now with the short amount of laps and gain any points and positions you can, because Buzzio had great stage points. He finished 3rd and 2nd in both the stages. After the stage, though, it's been a little bit of a few hiccups there as he's gotten ran into a couple times and, gotten to the back of the 11. It's just been downhill for that number 21, but I think he's got time. If he can position himself well enough here, he'll have about 25 laps to try to gain what he can here and get as many points before we head to Bristol next week, which is definitely the unknown. I mean, we've had 14 cautions here tonight, 13 for incident. At Bristol next week, we could see a little bit of a similar case.
And yeah, we mentioned it, Zach. This is a really tough playoff schedule, and it doesn't get any easier. There is a lot of racing still to do in this playoff racing. A couple more weeks, and these drivers are here for it. A lot of drama, a lot of action, and a lot of caution. So we will see how this race plays out as we have 26 laps. We will go green with 25 laps to go. But right now, the field in the hands of Jamie Plord, a playoff driver needing a good run right now, and he's getting it on older tires on a different strategy. But right now, he's getting to that restart zone. He waits a little bit, then launches right now, and that was a great launch, very similar to a launch that the 17 that Kevin Rogers would do. He is the lone bird up there in front, but everyone else side by side behind him, heading into turn 1.
That they are. And old Chris way up the racetrack. That's going to open the door. Here comes Hausman, also the 77 of Kubanek. But that 17 was able to clear the 18. And that's exactly what he needed out of 2 as the big run's coming. But, oh, the 18 dives to the 17's inside here, entering into turn number 3 and 4. That shoves him up the racetrack. Now, the 38 of Plord, he's going to have a little bit of breathing room here as they continue to fan out behind him.
And Plord is looking in the mirror, smiling as he sees those cars side by side. But he can't smile for too long as they close the gap really quickly going into turn 1. They remain side by side fighting for second place. Oh, we have contact with Hausman and Christensen down the back straight away. And that is going to bring out our 15th caution of the night.
Just like that, more carnage continues. And Plord is loving every moment of this, folks. As, again, these guys have had a tough night, and Hausman and Christensen, 2 playoff drivers, getting into it, and it seems like it was the 20 who got loose and came down into the 78, and it just seems like at any moment this car could step out on you, as these guys have fought that all night long, and it's been a tough break for a couple of them. So, man, can Plord pull this off is the question. I mean, if we keep getting these continuous cautions like this plays more and more into that 38's hand.
Well, and we saw it, the 17 and the 18 fighting side by side for a couple of laps there, and that just really helped the 38 kind of cruise a little bit, not use too much of his stuff. But with those 2 drivers fighting so hard to get to that lead, for at least get to that second place first, it just makes it that much easier on Jamie Plord being able to kind of pull away on those older tires so far. But right now, Alexander Light once again being a beneficiary, sitting in the top 5 again as a non-playoff driver. And so we can't, we all have the playoff drivers, we're all looking at that, but some of these non-playoff drivers just looking for a good run. And right now, Alex Light doing really well for himself.
Yeah, he's definitely having a great run, and he's come back from a lot too. I mean, that 05 had some moments, and right now going to be in 4th with Christopher Norris hitting pit road from the 4th position, so that moves Alexander Light up to 4th. Also, the 56 up into the top 5 of Richard, so that's a great run for him also. So, and look, even Johnny Shade, all the bumps and bruises, the ups and downs he's had to fight through here tonight at Phoenix. He's in the 7th position here with less than almost, or coming here soon to 20 laps to go, with it being 21 to go now, and they cross the line. I tell you, man, this is setting up to be an interesting finish, especially with some drivers who have, been farther back here tonight, kind of lurking and just trying to make the most out of what they can.
And Johnny Shade, he was what, 3 laps down, and that his persistence, his determination to stay in the race, work his way back up, is paid off as he is sitting there in the 6th position, looking really well for a top 10, maybe even a top 5 finish here at Phoenix to help him at least get to Bristol next week, as we are going to be definitely looking forward to that race, as we still have 21 laps to go here. It's not yet gritting up, but I have a feeling when we get close to the start finish line, we'll start gritting up and go 1 to go once again, have another restart here for the Wicked Racing League Buttkicker Cup Series at Phoenix Raceway. But we still have a couple of laps to go before that point. Zach, and right now I think strategy's out the window. You have 20 laps to go. It is all go at this point. Even 20 laps is hard to really get too much heat in those tires, so we're going to see a lot of action when this green flag flies.
Yeah, these guys are going to be full send, as you would say. So it is definitely going to be one of those wild finishes here at this Phoenix Raceway. And can Plord pull it off? That's the question for me. Can he do this? He's been in this position. He's been able to get good restarts. And for him, his best friend now is that 18 of Blaine Wilson. He wants Blaine to launch so well, head off into 1 and 2, and be side by side with that 17. Kind of, give Rogers that tough fight that they need to keep him behind this 38. It's, I believe, Plord's best chance, but if that 17 can get to the lead, we've seen he's been lights out from the lead position on restarts, so you got to keep it away from him, but he's going to be looking for every little thing as these playoff drivers are in the top 3 positions now.
Lord got a great launch on that last restart. Will he do it again? Or will he take a note from the 17 and maybe delay it a little bit, mix it up, try not to be predictable on this restart. It could be the last restart, but we don't know. We have 20 laps of racing left to complete here as the 38 waits and launches another great launch about halfway through that restart zone, and the 38 launches solo into turn 1, but don't look now, the 17 is closer than he was last time, so they are fanning out behind them 3 wide.
Yeah, that's the best possible restart for the 17, but it's not good because the wrecking behind him is, oh no, the 7, the 77, and I believe the 11 all involved in it, as it was, I believe, the 78 getting into that number 11 machine. And we got some broken race cars, as I believe Halsman, Coffee, and Diamco, all of them have required damage flags, as that's going to most likely bring it into all 3 of their races, as they've been involved in multiple incidents. And kind of just an overzealous move there from the 78, who got in there and just tried to make the move probably at the wrong time. And, he lost that track position. He's trying to gain back everything he lost. But having those good stage points to fall back on, he just needed to have a pretty decent climb back up. But this right here is going to really hurt him now, as he's going to be on pit road getting that car worked on.
And that was just one other incident where he went low on the dog leg and didn't quite clear the 11 and just going to collect the 7 and the 20. So that's just unfortunate incident. More aggressive driving from Mason Hausman. He did really well earlier on getting those stage points like you mentioned, Zach, but this 3rd stage has not been well to Mason. He's been making some really aggressive moves, and they've kind of backfired on him.
Yeah, it has definitely backfired on them, and with 17 to go, there's still plenty of options for more drivers that have those mistakes. So, with 16 cautions here tonight, we had, I believe, 21 last week at Martinsville. It's been a caution-filled week, 2 weeks here for this Wicked Racing League, and I tell you what, that only builds up the frustration more and more for these drivers. And we head to Bristol next week, so if you have any frustrations, what a place to bring them to. And, man, with only 2 races to go this season after tonight, it's all building up to a difficult, critical point now. And Jamie Plord, though, he's loving every side of this. I'm telling you, if this thing continues like this 38 might be able to pull this off, guys. I don't think he's going to have the pace to hold off this 17 if we keep this race green. But if we keep getting caution after caution, I think he's going to be in a very good position here to try to go for this win and look to maybe move himself on to that next round, as I believe he doesn't have the banner on his car. As you can see, he does have the yellow banner. But I do believe he is one of the 8th and final driver who made it into this top 8.
Zach, you are correct. Plord is that 8th and final driver, and what a comeback story it would be for the 38. Starting at the back, he started 9th in the back of the points, coming here winning this race, being able to, the only driver to go into Bristol next week, not having a worry in the world, knowing he's checked in to the playoff race at Charlotte in a couple of weeks. That would be great, but we still have racing to go. 16 laps here, and we are still under yellow, under pace laps, and we will have about 15 14 laps to go when we go green. So already the pressure keeps picking up. We've seen it. Huge mistakes are being made, much larger. The self spins are kind of gone now, and it's now multi-car incidents through the corners, especially corner entry. So these drivers know the pressure is there, but it's causing them and forcing them to make moves they might not have otherwise made earlier on in the run.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a tough night out there on the racing surface, but these drivers are going to have to make the most out here in these last 16 laps, and it's going to be interesting to see, no doubt, here is, again, everybody has had some simple mistakes here tonight that have really come back to backfire on them, and, you know, some playoff drivers back there in those positions. I mean, Halsman in 14th, Coffey in 17th. They're going to leave here tonight, you know, kind of questioning how they're going to go into Bristol next week to try to move on. It's a tough position to be in, but I tell you what, they're two great drivers, and they know how to get it done when it comes to winning. We've seen that already this season, so don't count them out heading into Bristol next week. They could very well go out there and win to move on. We've seen it before. It is very easily doable. You just got to come with that clutch presence, and you can be able to get it done.
And we're seeing it here, the 38 doing everything he needs to do, changing up strategy, using the cautions for his own benefit, even though they, you know, you can't anticipate him, but he took the rhythm of the race and made it his own. And right now he is continuing to lead this race as he gets back to the restart zone. He waits, and he waited till the very end of the restart zone to go, and that made the 17 kind of check up. Again, another decent restart for the 38, keeping the rest of the field behind him. But there we are, fanning out through the dogleg, going into turn one, almost 4 wide back there.
Yeah, it is 4 wide again. There's a go through the corner. It's going to be Norris up top, and Kubanek fighting with Buzzio and Wolfser. But they all figure it out as they come off a turn number 2 somehow. As they head down in the 3 and 4, going to be coming to 13 laps to go. Plord a little bit up the racetrack. Here comes the 17 of Rogers. He knows this might be one of his only chances. He's noticed that all these cautions keep coming out at the wrong timing for him to be able to make the move. He's got to do it quick if he wants it.
Oh, but he glides up the track going into turn one, allowing the door to open for the 17. 17 is there on the inside, down the back straightaway. He's going to have a run there going into turn 3, the 38. Keeping it hard though on the outside, making sure he doesn't lose too much momentum, but he's going to lose that momentum through the dogleg. The 17 going to creep up there into the line and take away that first position. So all that the 38 could do, just couldn't hold that 17, and now he has to try and hold back the 18 of Blaine Wilson so he doesn't fall further on back in the field.
That he does. He's trying to make the most of it right here. Look to the inside. Wilson made the look for the dive here, coming to 11 laps to go. Can Plord hang on? You also got Alexander Light and Greg Shaw, who are 2 non-playoff drivers who've moved themselves up into positions here in 4th and 5th. Can they look to move themselves forward here late to go? And also Johnny Shea trying to hold off Adam Buzzio. There's so many bounce back stories for a lot of these drivers.
This has just been a storyline race for the Wicked Racing League. A lot of drivers showing some speed, a lot of trained strategy, a lot of drama, a lot of aggressive driving overall, and it's just equated to this really exciting finish here. But with that, we cross the lap. They are 10 laps to go here at Phoenix Raceway. Ladies and gentlemen, when the checkered flag flies, don't go anywhere. We will be back, and we will talk to our top 3 finishers, get their thoughts on the race, on the finishes of this race, and also talking about next week at Bristol. So don't go anywhere. Oh, there is contact between the 18 and the 38. 38 saves it though up the track, and that allows the 05 and the 51 to gang up on the 18 of Blaine Wilson. He is under attack by the 51. 51 is going to the inside. 51 will check into that second position, and we have a race on our hands, but Gavin Rogers is already checked out, over a second away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, Rogers just trying to be nice and smooth, pull the gap here as he'll come to 8 laps to go. Only 8 miles left here at the Phoenix Raceway. But man, Gregory Shaw back up into the top 3. Wilson trying to hold that spot back off of Alexander Light for third. But I tell you what, it's going to be a dogfight all the way down to the end here. And if we get a caution, fireworks could fly.
You know, I got to say, I'm a little impressed by the 51. He had some major damage through that second stage and actually worked with it, kept his head in the game, waited to preserve that faster pair, Zach, till later, that last pit stop about 16 laps ago. In fact, he has 20 lap fresher tires than our leader, so he is doing really well on his part for strategy, trying to track down that 17 as he has already gained about a half second. But will it be enough? 7 laps to go.
Yeah, gonna be coming to 6 laps to go here. Last time by, Gregory Shaw was about a 1/10.5 faster. So if he can continuously do that lap after lap, it will get close, but it's not going to be close enough. That was 2/10 that time with 8/10 separating with 6 laps to go. He's going to need to continue to do that if he wants to have a chance on the last lap. But man, we've seen this 17. He's had a lot of pressure all night, and man, almost up into the wall. I think he might be feeling that pressure as we get closer to the white flag.
And Zach, how hard is it to keep a cool head? You know you have the fresh tires. You don't want to overdrive it. You see the lead car in front of you. How do you calm yourself down? Maybe even feeling you have this checkered flag in your grasp.
It is so easy to overdrive. That is the biggest thing that a lot of drivers run into the issue. Also, as you're getting this dirty air, it makes the car a little bit tougher to hit your marks. So it's tough for the 51 and the closer he gets, but he is definitely getting closer. You can see, look at the entry speed. I mean, he is just carrying so much more entry speed, but the big thing there, he's overdriving the entry. If he just would have backed that entry up a little bit, he would have definitely kept a good gap to him. He did gain, and he's gaining well, but it's just not working out with you washing up the racetrack and sliding that car like that. But here's the caution flag with 4 laps to go, 17th of the night, and I don't know exactly what went on, but I think Plord and also Johnny Shade, 2 playoff drivers involved in this one. And man, oh man, with 17 cautions here, Gavin Rogers, he's going to have to be picture perfect on these restarts, because guess what? Now he's got fresher tires all behind him.
And that's almost 20 lap fresher tires. And yeah, Zach, that looks like the 38 of Plord going down the dog leg. Looks like Johnny Shade just kind of came down, lost it, and came down into the 38. Lucky there was no more other vehicles getting caught in that mess, but that's what caused our 17th caution of the night. And Zach, this actually may shape up for a green-white checkered overtime finish, because we have 3 laps to go. So yeah, we may be setting up for a green-white checkered. But yeah, you mentioned it, Zach. Those fresher tires behind him is going to bring all of this field together, and he's going to have to really, really defend when the green flag flies.
And he really will. And I tell you what, interesting call being made by the 05 of Alexander Light. He decides to come to pit road, give up the 4th position to come down here and get some tires. So he's going to be starting farther back in the field, most likely around the 11th to 12th position. I don't know if that'll be enough time for him to use those tires, but if we get a couple green-white checkers, watch out for Alexander Light. He could have a lot of grip compared to these guys, and that could be the position to be in. And, he really has nothing to lose. He's not fighting for playoffs. This is his first race here tonight. He's just trying to go out here and get the best finish he possibly can. So why not throw everything at it, as they would say, throw the kitchen sink at it. So definitely trying everything in his power. But now we're going to have Blaine Wilson once again there restarting in 3rd, and you'll have Gavin Rogers there trying to hold off Gregory Shaw. And I tell you what, the speed the 51 has been carrying through the entries of these corners, he's going to be able to get to that 17 if he needs to.
And this is going to be extremely interesting, Zach. We went through all 3 green-white checkers last week at Martinsville. We have a potential to do that again tonight here at Phoenix. But we have like you said, a great race on our hands. 20 laps separate the tire difference here between position 1 and 2. And then the mix-up in strategy with Alexander Light, definitely a bold strategy. Interesting to see. We've seen these issues, seen these cold tires really slick, but you're also in the middle of the pack where all the stuff tends to happen. You can't, it's harder to avoid all those incidents. So we'll have to keep an eye on that 05, see if he can keep it clean. But for right now, I think all eyes are going to be on this these top 3 cars.
Yeah, all eyes for sure. And if something happens from there, Adam Buzzio's in position. And look at the rebound he's had for him. Also, Nigel Christensen there in the top 5. This has been an interesting ending to this race, and it's only going to get a little bit more interesting here, as I believe we'll most likely get the green here as we get ready to go back to racing. And man, will we get to see another green-white checkered attempt, as this one is the first of our possible 3. And like you said, Carl, we had 3 at Martinsville. It very well could play out the same way here, as we could see people get very, very aggressive here and try to make a bold move.
And we have seen them get aggressive this entire third stage. They've had 75 laps of racing, but I would say less than half of that's been green flag racing, with how aggressive and all the spins and cautions that have come out. But like you said, Zach, we are 1 to green. The lights are out on the pace car, so we are going to have a very action-packed restart here when the green flag flies. We'll have to see how Gavin Rogers plays this restart, knowing those tires on his outside are better than his. We've seen him be unpredictable in that restart zone. How will Gregory Shaw handle that? This all comes down to this next green flag restart.
That it very well could be. You never know, we could go to the next one also, but this could be the one. This could be the money one. We've seen how good the 17's been all night. These are a little bit older tires, and he's got the fresher tires to his outside. Who's going to be in position to win this race? You're going to have to see here, folks.
And don't look now, but the 83 is in that 6th position. He's been aggressive all night as well. But the 17 goes into the restart zone coming out of turn 4. He waits and launches almost immediately. The 51 got caught sleeping a little bit. He's going to have a huge gap to make up in these next couple of laps. But we are green and going into turn 1 side by side from 4th on back.
Yeah, and the 24, Johnny Shea did wreck in the 24. I'm surprised we didn't get a caution with him having that incident with the dog leg. But I tell you what, Gavin Rogers just wants to get back here as they're heading to 3 and 4 for possibly the penultimate time.
And here we are through 3, through 4. The white flag is waving. No caution yet. And so the white flag, freaky fast, 1 lap to go. The 17, the 51, the 18, all vying for these top 3 positions here at Phoenix.
Here we go. 1 and 2 for the final time. Gregory Shaw looks to close in with the fresher tires, but Rogers just needs the good exit. He has the gap. What will the 51 do here in 3 and 4?
We will see. We've noted his entry speed is extreme. Checkered flag is flying though, and 17, Gavin Rogers will win here at Phoenix after 179 laps of chaos. The 51 bringing it home 2nd, 18 will be 3rd. So what a great, fantastic, really pressure-filled finish. We saw Gavin Rogers hold off newer tires, so congratulations to the 17. Zach, that was another very pressure-filled finish here for the Wicked Racing League.
That it was, and Rogers is going to love every moment of it, because now he's going to go race for a championship at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in 2 weeks. He's got time to prepare, and that's a dangerous sight, as we've seen the 17 be so dominant this season as he burns it down here with another win.
And those old tires don't matter at all. He's gonna do his donuts. See the tire smoke. He is celebrating his ticket into the championship race at Charlotte. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We will take a break, gather our breath, take a little bit of water. When we come back, we will have our top 3 finishers in their interviews. So don't go anywhere. We will return. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. But after the checkered flag, we saw another 17 cautions, 179 laps of racing. But eventually, the checkered flag was claimed by Gavin Rogers, punching his way to the ticket. But before we get to him, we have to talk to our third place finisher first of Blaine Wilson. Blaine, this is Carl and Zach up in the booth, sir. Congratulations on the third place finish. It was a little sketchy out there. Talk us through that race.
Yeah, thank you. It was really sketchy. Rear tire wear is insane here. So you're kind of sliding every corner. Got to learn how to control it. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a long one. It felt really long for some reason, even though it wasn't really any longer than the others.
Yeah, definitely was a long night for sure out there at Phoenix, man. But I tell you what, you guys did the most of it to get in this position, Blaine. And I tell you what, third's going to be good for you heading here out of Phoenix and then into Bristol next week before we set that Final Four. How do you feel heading into Bristol for your chances?
Totally up in the air. I've never turned a lap there on asphalt in the next gen car at least, so it can be a lot of practice. Right now, no clue. Couldn't tell you.
Well, I know you did really well throughout the race, finishing third this week, though. But any fans watching right now you want to shout out to?
Yeah, my good boy Carter Levesser, he's watching right now, and maybe Sean Hofert's watching too. But teammates Adam and Nigel put in a lot of practice this week, really learning how to control this track. But just seems we couldn't beat Gavin. He's definitely the one to beat for this championship. My money's on him. Good win.
Well, definitely, we are all keeping our eyes on everyone tonight. Good luck next week at Bristol.
Thank you. See you next week.
And that was our third place finisher. The driver who finished third last week, second this week. We talked to him 2 weeks in a row, Gregory Shaw. Greg, it's Carl and Zach up in the booth. We saw you get those tires, have those fresh tires. What did you need there at the end to be able to pass for the win?
I think just to get Gavin, I needed the long run with no yellow. Gavin's got speed every week in, week out. We see it in practice. We see it in the races. The tire strategy was just to try something. I'm not a playoff driver. I wanted to see if I came down with about 25 to go, whatever it was, that maybe I could get up and fight for a top 5 at least. We didn't have the car the whole night. I don't know this track well, and the tires I've noticed fell off. So we made the call to come down pit road, get some 4 fresh ones, put the last of the stickers on, and ended up P2.
Yeah, man, what a call there to come down here and get P2, especially after last week getting a top 3 there at Martinsville. Now with this second place finish, you feel like you can do one more better next week heading into Bristol.
We'll see. It's luck of the draw as always, of just hoping you don't take somebody else out or take your own car out. We had a little bit of an incident earlier where I ended up hitting the 77 after a wreck that unfortunately the flight and official didn't catch. But we were able to come back, so who knows? I'm hoping for a good finish at Bristol, but I'm just glad to be around.
Well, we are glad to have you. Maybe next week we'll talk to you third week in a row. But before we let you go, any fans you want to shout out to tonight?
Honestly, just you guys and the sponsors on my car. So One Shot, Cosmic Candles, Get Wet Sports, and Gamer Sleeve, as well as Limitless. But you guys put on a fantastic broadcast as always. I know obviously sometimes things don't work well in the production booth with replays, but nonetheless, you guys put on a fantastic show.
Well, we thank you for the shout out, sir. Good luck next week at Bristol.
Thank you, guys.
And that was P2. We're right now the one you've all been waiting for, the number 1 finisher tonight, Gavin Rogers. Gavin, it is Carl and Zach up in the booth. You had your hands full tonight. The whole field had their hands full tonight. How did you get through and be able to close the deal with that checkered flag?
Oh man, I mean that was a great race. So exciting to be able to race for a championship and not have to worry about a Bristol. But yeah, I mean I just had the pace. That's all I was focusing on. I've never really raced here, at least in these cars. So I had close to, I don't want to overdo it, probably like 700 laps for this one. Probably could have done more if I didn't have work, but it's enough for me. Man, it's just such a big win. So exciting, getting 2 in a row in the playoffs, and this one's to get into the championship. So I'm super pumped.
Yeah, like you said, man, 2 in a row, that's got to be a big deal for you, especially the momentum Now you head into Bristol, no worries there. But man, I tell you, you feel like the momentum there is critical to continue because you seem to be on a roll right now.
I don't know. It's really just the main focus is on Charlotte now. I'm gonna I've got to focus on not making enemies at Bristol, of course. Just take it easy. Just don't make any enemies, of course, and yeah, just have a completely clean race and focus on Charlotte. Charlotte is all it is.
Well, it's hard to make enemies when you're leading the pack, Gavin. We look forward to seeing that next week. But before we let you go celebrate your win, any fans you want to shout out to tonight?
Yeah, sponsors, Jet Set Magazine, Printed Pieces, Sun Ants Pizza, and Next Level Karting. Exciting to have Next Level Karting sponsor the race tonight, and hopefully many more in the future. Shout out to my family, my mom, my dad, brothers, grandparents, great grandfather, aunts, uncles, everybody in the family, you guys as well. You guys just do an amazing job with Freaky Fast broadcasts, and yeah. Oh,
Well,
my karting teammates as well, Gio and David and their families.
Well, we definitely appreciate the shout out. You have quite the fanfare. I know they will be rooting for you next week at Bristol. Congratulations. Go ahead and go and celebrate that win.
Hell yeah, thank you guys.
Well, and just like that, after another caution-filled race on Wednesday night, the checkered flag goes to Gavin Rogers, Gregory Shaw bringing in second, Blaine Wilson rounding out the podium, Adam Buzzio in fourth, Christopher Norris rounding out the top five. Nigel Christensen was able to recover in the sixth position. Richard Wolsifer finishing at seventh. Jimmy Ford in eighth after leading some late race laps. Alexander Light in ninth after some strategic calls at the last restart. And Jimmy Kubinek rounding out the top 10. Zach, we had Mason Hausman, we had Alex Coffey, and we got some playoff drivers. Johnny Shade have some issues tonight and really hurt their chances going into this playoff, into the championship race. And with Bristol next week, really, there is no more room to give.
Yeah, nah, it's going to be tough for sure, man. It's going to be one of those races where you got to do your most as a driver here to figure out everything you possibly can to get onto that championship race. And a couple drivers are going to have their backs against the wall, as you would say, you know. So it's going to be one of those moments where we got to pay attention. We got to do, do our best homework here to see which drivers are going to be in the best positions to move themselves on. And, again, Coffey, Hausman, they're really top tier drivers along with Johnny Shea. They've won multiple races this season between the three. They could go there and get that win. That could really upset one of the drivers who had good points tonight here. That could be looking to move in on by points. So you never know if you're safe by points or you need to go out there and get the win. I think it's going to be up in the air till the checker flag flies of who our Final Four is. The only driver we're going to be for sure on is Gavin Rogers.
Yes, Gavin Rogers is the only guaranteed driver to race for that championship. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week, but you won't miss a thing if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, obviously, you name it, we are on it. We have definitely some great stuff in the production going really well, so you won't miss anything. We have stuff going all the time here on Freaky Fast. In fact, this is the prime playoff racing time for Freaky Fast Broadcasting. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You won't miss a thing. So until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and stay Freaky Fast.